Welcome back to yet another episode of Very Vehicular, and as always, I am your host, Brian Scotto. Last week, you got John Nadiri on firing order, and we're bringing him back. That's right, more Nads. And a lot of you have mentioned you enjoy the free-form format of this show. Let's just say this one is really, really free. So strap in, hold on, this one goes everywhere. All anyone wants to talk about nowadays is how great 90s car culture was. But what everyone forgets is how bad our slammed cars rode on crappy lowering springs. At the time, that's all my wallet could muster. But when I finally did step up and get some proper coilovers, I went for KWs and never looked back. I've been running their stuff for over 2 decades now, in everything from my 911 to my RS2. I even have a custom set in my Land Rover Discovery. And yes, that bloody thing does finally run. Anyway, because of my long history with them, I am very excited to announce KW as the newest partner in this whole podcast syndicate thing I'm building. Anyway, check them out, kwsuspensions.com. Legal disclaimer. It might actually be illegal to wear Heatwave's polarized ultra black lenses while driving. But if you spend a lot of time in violently bright conditions, like snow or in the desert, then these lenses are going to be perfect for you. Traditionally, sunglasses have an 11% VLT rating, but these are cranked all the way down to 6%. That's limo tint for your eyes. They also provide a great level of ocular privacy for when you're looking at something you shouldn't be. I'll be wearing them tonight while I'm sat next to my wife, scrolling Marketplace. Avoid being blinded at heatwavevisual.com. Nads, you ready for this?
What am I ready for? I don't even know what this is. I'm unsure in the Scopo. I'm workshopping that name because I can never keep up with you for naming convention, chef's kiss. But in the Scopo universe, I'm unsure if I'm here for a very vehicular or a firing order. There's not a third person here. I don't know if this is a new show. I don't know if you're inventing something.
It could be a new show. Do you want to do something new today?
I'm afraid of that right now.
We could just build this plane while we're flying.
We pretty much,
we're never going to land the plane. Between the two of us, no plane landing here at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Scotto production.
Yeah. So, no, this is very vehicular. This is just you and me. We already did firing order. I really enjoyed having you on the show. I feel like you might become like a reoccurring guest because that's the whole idea of that show.
I would kind of love to be a reoccurring guest.
Yeah.
I kind of got off on it.
I'm thinking the next one though, we bring in like a shock collar just to slow down some of the stories. What was the joke about Mr. Honda that we would always get into at Hoonigan? We'd start talking about something.
Oh yeah, let me tell you about a man named Soichiro Honda, this versus that became like an entire running gag.
And for me, it was Railcar, because I would always do the like, okay, but first, before we leave, let's talk about Railcar. And it's the realization, no one else has that joke except for the two of us, because we are the most long-winded old bags in the business. So speaking of which, you've been doing this for a while, bro. You were the first person on this show who was older than me.
Yeah, I know. Don't tell me that.
I looked up. You're so old that I looked up to you before I was in the business. It's pretty cool.
Keep reading the magazine, kid. You know, it's like, what do you want to do with that?
Here's 99 cents off the $1.99 subscription. Go run with it. I don't know, man. It's what have you been up to lately?
About 4 beers a day. Which, by the way, I was under the impression that this was a brew with format. So. I'm a little let down.
Yeah, you know what it is if it was only like a half an hour show, I'd let you drink, but we got to go for 3 hours, and I've seen you drink for 3 hours. Yeah, we just like, you know.
3 hours deep would
crazy.
make for a great pod.
Yeah. You definitely be naked at the end, or somehow wearing everyone else's clothes.
Which, by the way, this may or may not be water. You know?
Yeah, man. So what's been new? I literally have not, other than doing firing order with you, but we have not actually had a chance to speak before today in years.
Yeah, I know.
Like I've ran into you at a couple events, but like it's weird how you work with people, you see them every day to the point that you're sick of them, and then you just don't see them.
Some of us more sick than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is weird to me, right?
Yeah.
we were so close, we were just talking about that, and it's like,
well, just be honest, you kind of hated me after hitting her. That's fine.
Everybody
did.
Yeah,
everybody
it was like,
did.
it was like you couldn't keep the band together, and I'm like,
I know,
but I do like, I appreciate you reaching out, and I don't know if it's an olive branch. I don't think was that like contentious, but
no.
it was that point where it's like we work together, now we don't work together, and there's a little sourness, and it's like, whatever,
John and I had a similar conversation, which was like, he left when we should have all left, but we didn't realize it, and he left, and I think all of us were like kind of bummed he left, and like it was a weird, not that anyone was mad at him for leaving, but it was like, wait, you're leaving now? Like, and it was weird. He left in this weird time, and all of a sudden, like, we woke up one day and like John just wasn't there, and Chase just wasn't there anymore, and it was like this weird, like, I don't know,
the domino effect, essentially. Yeah.
But the one, obviously, you went on, you did a bunch of other stuff, but the coolest thing you did out of all of it is you finally built a really cool Civic.
I did, and it's crazy.
It's outside.
Yeah, it is outside, and yet again, much like the Civic that I built at Hoonigan, I had nothing to do with it. I had very little to do with it. I built this one in a TV
work
show.
Really well for you.
I just do the crying Jordan at the end of the thing, and I'm like, I'm so grateful for all of this. But who in this earth has had like 2 really cool cars built for them?
This new one's cooler than the one we built for you.
This one is more my vision. This is like completely my vision, to be honest. I mean, to fill everyone in. After Hoonigan, I don't know how, but I lucked into a Discovery show on Motor Trend TV. Freiberger and Alex Taylor and Lucky Costa and that whole group and everything, that, Hoonigan alternate universe, Bizarro Hoonigan world, I guess you call it.
I think we're Bizarro them, but
we're
whatever.
Bizarro Motor Trend, whatever you want to call it. But I came back there, and I'm like, I was there when we used to put ink on paper and put it in a newsstand and ask people to give us money for it. And then I came back for something. When I got the show, my youngest is a huge fan of Ken's and yours and all of us and the Hoonigan era, and she goes, "You're back at Super Street? Are you doing YouTube?" And I'm like, "No, it's not YouTube." And she goes, "What is it?" I'm like, "Well, it's the Motor Trend channel on the Discovery Network." What is that? And I'm like,
television?
Yeah, she goes,
tell me, Dad, what is television?
Does mommy get that? I'm like, no, I don't think she subscribes. No. So I'm like, it was a weird step for me. And I said, is there a way we could do this on YouTube? And they go, no, you don't understand where the money is literally coming from.
Right.
We're trying to fund Shark Week, episodes, and I'm like, okay. So I got with it and I tried to figure it out. And they go, well, I go, for this first episode, we're going to swap a case series into this fit. And they go, oh, maybe not that much, What can you do with like putting wheels and tires and suspension, and maybe like, what are those tribal graphics? And I'm like, oh my God, this is so I struck a compromise with them and I said, listen, what if we did a couple mild builds and a couple wild builds? And they said, okay. So I came up with the whole thing, because you have to have the setup, the process, and the payoff, for any, they go, not everyone's going to watch serialized content like YouTube, and I'm like, okay. So I kind of said, what if we do like a mild build that we finish, but then we have a wild build that's going on in the background? They said, yeah. And then, so I'm doing it and I'm working away and I'm figuring out how to do everything. And they go, you could do one of these cars. I'm like, I can't afford a TV show car. I'm like, there's no world in which I can afford that. And they go, no, you don't get it. You can buy the car, we'll modify it, and then it's yours. You just don't sell it during the season. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. And they go, what would you do? And I'm like, a yellow Honda hatchback. That was the one that made the magazine what it was. And they said, okay, I go Phoenix yellow or sunburst yellow. I go probably EG or EK, leaning towards EK. And they said, okay. They go, it's before we even started filming. They go, why don't you paper the build out? I said, okay. So I go on like Google Sheets and I start like, I'm Buddy the Elf in the elevator, and I go to the Spoon catalog and I'm like, brink, and just like checked, everything for the EK, please, and I just ran it all through, not even thinking, going on my merry way. And I like had a summation function. I'm not really, and I said, I should kind of maybe check where it's at, just the spoon bill, So spoon bill. And I look at it and I'm like, it was $65,000 in spoon parts alone. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, maybe I could switch like the spoons to like an iBox setup, and then maybe the wheels I could switch to like an Enkei or something. I'm like trying to figure it out, but now they're all my children. So I'm like, well, I can't give up that because that goes with this, and the wiper blades going with the little windshield banner, and I'm like trying to figure it out. And I'm like, they're like, hey, we need that list. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you know what I need to do? I need to go through it, build the ultimate car, and then scale back for TV production. When I get done with the sum of parts, not even labor, not even paint or anything, it came out to be like $88,000 in parts alone for this car.
Here we are building $100,000 Civics.
It's a 1997 Civic hatchback, mind you. So I'm like, okay, that's a little much. Finally, the producer goes, hey man, I need that list. And I'm like, well, I'm fired before I even got the job. Can't figure out how to scale it down. Just send it. And I'm like, I need to talk to you about the list. And he goes, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. So I sent it to him. Don't hear anything back. And I'm like, well, I'm fired before the show even started. I get a call like 2 weeks later. He's like, hey, we need to talk about your list. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. And I'm like, I'm wide open, this is a give and take, this is a process, So, I mean, I didn't know, I'm like, you're
already caveating it,
100%,
backpedaling
100%. I've been divorced twice, so I know, I know how this game plays, So I said, okay, yeah, we could talk about it. He goes, no, I owe you an apology. We couldn't get all the parts, so we're literally having Spoon overnight parts from Japan. I shit you not.
You got that quote.
I got that quote. He's like,
and that producer probably never saw.
He was
the
too
movie.
young to
Doesn't
know
understand the joke.
He goes, they're air freighting everything from Japan because they can't put it on a container because it'll take too long. And I just wanted to let you know I'm sorry.
How much muscle control did it take to prevent the just massive smiling giggle that comes in those moments?
The hyperventilation, the anxiety, and the pinch me moment.
You don't want to show your poker face.
So,
you're like, oh, yeah, okay.
And we're on a teleconference, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I could deal with that. And then now I'm flipping the script, and I'm like, I'll be cool about it.
I can make it work.
I guess I'll have to make it work. And it was one of those, again, another Fast and Furious moment where the truck is like driving down the road. It was coming into the shop. And I'm like, had this clipboard, and I'm like, okay, that's the hood. That's the headlight converter. And then got connected with a guy who had a B16B swap. And then he had the CTR front end. Everything sort of came together. And then they're going to, you want to respray it. And at the last minute, I go from yellow to white because I just always wanted the white CTR. I'm like, if it's for me, the TV show is going to last for whatever, but this is my forever car. And we did the respray.
Is it championship white?
I wanted championship white. And this is crazy because I'm super Honda nerd. And I wanted championship white. And I co-hosted the show with Amir Bintz too. He's a famous time attack driver. He's got a case-swapped NSX, RS Future, all this stuff. And he goes, Champ White is not really white, bro. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, it's kind of a cream. And I'm like, I never knew that. I was like, Champ White is the whitest white, I'm like, excuse me, not to be canceled, not white is right. I'm not going anything there. But I'm just saying, like, it's that cream. And he shows me, he goes, this is Champ White versus what you're talking about is like, what you want now is a lot of people are trying to get the Civics in what's called taffeta white, which was an OG EK color. And I was like, oh, and he goes, look at taffeta's whiter than that. He goes, if you want to go even whiter than that, there's something called Grand Prix white, which came on the NSXR and a certain generation S2000.
Which is like motorsport white. It's like body on white.
It's OG, if you remember like the 72 Honda F1 car, the white with that's not the Champ White that we know today.
Yeah.
That's the pure Japanese race car motorsport white. And I'm like, oh, I want Grand Prix white. So it's Grand Prix white.
It's funny though, because like as I've gotten older, I've actually really begun to appreciate the off-whites. Like when I was younger, I hated off-white. Like for example, my Vanagon's like a creamy white. And I never really liked that. I always liked pure white. Like my 911 is, I think actually Grand Prix white with like that color kind of white, but with a,
I love the 911.
But with a pearlescent on top of it. So it gave it that like weird flip and made it look a little creamy, but it was still like a pure white. But now, like the other day, I was with Will Rogie, and he had like his white Sprinter van parked next to my Vanagon, and like I don't know, there's something about the creaminess is kind of nice now. And I think it's just showing I'm getting older. Like the closer you get to enjoying the color beige, or AKA old man tan, it's just showing your. It's just showing your age.
Now this is the parlance of our time. It's no longer a basic B. It's your beige. It's like that's the color you identify as. The other thing that blows my mind is like PTS Porsche colors. Like root beer brown was the jam like in the 70s and 80s. And then it was gross to the 80s and 90s. And now it's like brown with a caramel interior is like, oh, that's the color on the 992 3RS.
I think in the Porsche market right now, you've got this world where it's like the weirder the color spec, the more valuable. It's like, hey, it's a booger green on a pumpkin orange interior. And people are like, oh my God, I need that. And you're like, no one did. They're like, it's super rare. You want to know why?
Because nobody bought it.
No one spec'd it. One dude who was colorblind bought that car thinking it was something else.
Or I love people were like, this is actually Aubergine 17, and it's like, come on, man, it's like you're getting way out of hand. It's the same thing the JDM guys with Midnight Purple. There's like 3 different shades of Midnight Purple. And I'm like,
Midnight Purple is a great color.
It is a really good color.
It is a great color. Complete lane change. I know you used to do a bunch of work for Hot Rod, really through Mothers, and you used to travel on Power Tour. You're doing Power Tour this year?
I am not. They're not doing Power Tour anymore. That bumps me out. Mothers is not.
Okay. Because they're doing Route 66.
I know. And I did it for so many years with Mothers. Even when I was at Hoonigan, everybody was so good enough because Mothers is my family from another mother. Yeah. And
the funny thing for me about like Power Tour and all of that is I think because of your time at Super Street, because of your affliction to Hondas, like people really see you as very one-dimensional. Like you are the Honda guy, but actually like you have this massive like involvement and knowledge in like just general car. I mean, you're like me, like you just like general car stuff.
I'm a fan of the automotive culture. I am a career raconteur like you. And
You're probably the only other person who's pretentious enough to use the word raconteur, but I love it. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I've always loved cars. And I'll tell you my origin story, started with the Tyrrell P6, the 6-wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
And
how old were you?
Oh my God, I was probably like 8 or 10. My dad just had a poster and he put it on my wall. And I was just like, what is it? And it was on the streets of Long Beach, of all places. And I was like, that thing is really cool. And then never really got into F1. But from there, I saw Bigfoot of all things.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what is this thing? And it's Bob Chandler. It's a super infamous photo, sitting on crushing 2 trucks. And he's leaning out, almost like Zach Merton style, like leaning out, elbow off the door, sunglasses, cowboy hat. And he's just on the 48s. Like, it's just, I'm like, I want a monster truck, and my dad and I built, he had a little bit of money. So he said, what do you want to build? And I'm like, I want to build like an F-150, I want to build a truck like, like Bigfoot. So we built like off-road truck.
Did you grow up here in LA?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was born in Santa Barbara, went to Santa Monica for a minute, but San Fernando Valley, it was like, so that led to, me racing BMX in the 80s. It was like, that was the time. Everybody raced BMX. And so it was the little league of its day. And so I was there in the early days of BMX racing. And everybody
saying early days, like what frame were you riding?
My first frame was a Rally Rampart.
Okay.
And then from there, I got a pre-Super Goose Mongoose.
Nice.
With Moto Mags and Ashtabula cranks.
So you're talking like 83, like 84?
That's pretty good. Yeah, this was more like 79 to 80.
Oh, wow. Okay, so even earlier than that. Wow.
Yeah.
I forget our age. I forget our age difference.
I know. I'm an old man. I'm 57, man. So
wow. You look good for 57.
Thank you.
In the last pod, I said you looked old, but now that I realize how old you are, damn,
I'll take that.
Yeah, you got like embalming fluid.
I'm getting my AARP invites on email, and it's like not good. Step off. I'm not ready for that yet. I'm not ready.
I didn't realize you were that. So you're like a decade older than me.
Yeah. So I graduated high school in '86. So for me, like coming up in the valley, I
graduated in '97.
Yeah. See, so like coming up in the valley. I was on the tail end of it, but Van Nuys Boulevard, cruising on Van Nuys Boulevard was the thing. And Freiberger was there. Didn't know him at the time, but I literally would ride my BMX bike. I lived right down the road from Van Nuys. There was a Super Shops right there, and I would ride my bike there, and there was, Freiberger's crew.
How do we bring back that culture? Like cruising was so fun. Like as a kid in New York City, we had Francis Lewis, but Francis Lewis was like part cruising, part real, like actual racing, like rolling 9-second cars off of trailers and racing in front of Francis Prep. But we also had this spot in Astoria right on the water that had like speed bumps. Like you couldn't speed. It was just cruising. Like it was just go out, hang with your friends, roll back and forth, make the U-turn, go back, run it again. DPA was the same way. There were spots up in the Bronx. Like it was such a great part of car culture. Like just go out, hang out with people, get to see people's cars, get to hear them, maybe a little light to light action. But like instead we have takeover culture, which is like, we bring it up on almost every episode, but we never really talk about it because I feel like, I don't want to feed it, but like, it just seems so removed from what I want to do with cars. Like, and which is crazy because I know some people are like, you created the environment for that.
No,
with
but
Hoonigan.
that's the thing that people don't realize. We were tilting at windmills, granted, but that's what you were trying to stop, because you famously told me when we were all kind of conceiving the Burnyard, like there's containers and it's like a takeover, but it's not a takeover. It's like filming a show, but it's a little bit bigger and there's a whole thing. And as we were like, storyboarding it out.
Well, Burnyard was just taking daily transmission, putting it on the road for a live show.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but we had the residency at Irwindale that sort of felt like maybe we are doing good, but maybe we fanned the flames a little bit too. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. It's like, it's weird. If you try to like keep it off the streets sort of thing, you kind of give them a blueprint on how to do it, The thing,
sideshows have been around since the 80s. They started up in Oakland. Like the Bay started it. But what the sideshow was and what the takeover has become is like two separate
completely
things.
Different things.
Because the sideshow wasn't about people getting hit by cars. Like that wasn't part of the culture. And like the kind of crazy, chaotic fireworks, like just literally just throw everything you can at this thing to just be an absolute nuisance to everybody was like not really what the sideshow was. Like I went to sideshows when I was at Rides Magazine. We went and like, hung out in the Bay and went to a sideshow, and it was like bunch of it was like mostly like older guys. And when I say older, I mean like 25 and older, but like in hip hop, that's like an older group. And it was guys in older Camaros and Fox Body Mustangs, like just throwing like donuts.
Whipping shitties.
Yeah, whipping shitties and like having a good time. And, and like the OGs are there, like, sipping on like an oldie and like, smoking like, like
a blunt.
Blunt. Yeah. And like that was, and it was like kind of mellow, and it was like industrial areas, and it was really quiet, and like, really wasn't like what it is now. And I don't want to talk about takeovers because it's like I don't want to give them the air. But what I do want to talk about is like cruising was such a cool culture. And I think it's one of the things that makes Power Tour feel rad, because Power Tour feels basically like a really long cruise.
100%.
Where you get to meet people, you get to talk to people. And I guess instead, like we've swapped that out. Like I guess the closest thing we have is cars and coffee. But it's definitely like a different environment. Like I think cruising, you could bring a shitbox to go cruise and still have fun. Like I think about the movie Dazed and Confused, and like there's an element of that like was real in what we actually.
It was
did
like a postmodern American graffiti sort of vibe, and
yeah.
I'm really dating myself with that reference.
I think it's okay. I had this conversation with John Chase in the last one, and I actually had a really long conversation with Ashley last night about it, which is like I really think we're like at this tipping point of going back to being more analog and having more analog.
Preach, Malcolm.
And having more analog experiences.
Oh, 100%.
Because like this digital thing's just not working. Like,
I wouldn't say it's not working, but we became so reliant on the digital world. When you talk about, this is such a cliched thing to say, but it's so telling about what our society is, do it all for the gram, right?
Yeah.
And when I say do it all for the gram, I mean build your car for the gram.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just going to say it, rep wheels and these terrible wraps because they look good on your little 2x2 square that you're being served.
Or like a Honda Ridgeline with like an Indy car in the back, things like that. Build it for the grams.
Build it for the grams, exactly. So like all of that, I feel like is what the culture is being reduced to. And I think it's starting to like kind of boomerang and come back from that, where people, and the pandemic, as much as it hurt, it also helped accelerate this yearning for community.
Yeah.
And I think this want to come back, and even like when you talk about cars and coffee, it is our thing these days. That was started by a bunch of old men. I was there for the first car. I know the Cars and Coffee origin story.
Did you used to go to the Mazda one?
I went before the Mazda one to Crystal Cove. And Crystal Cove, was started by a bunch of extremely, and I know some of them, extremely wealthy, reclusive men with like, $20 million cars that would just like probably on their second wife, not going to assume, but she wants to get her beauty sleep. And I'm not saying that it's men versus women. Please don't cancel me. But the men would get together.
How much of your life is spent?
Just please don't not to cancel me. It's like I need to get tattooed on my forehead at this point. But I'm like, I'm really worried about not being woke at this point. I'm like, I don't know. Please, I want to respect your pronouns, but I also kind of want to objectify you, young lady. So please, like, I'm very confused about my place in this society right now.
If you're anything like me, whether or not you have a real shop space or a lift at your disposal, you still end up working on the floor. So when I saw Vyper's new Mini Creeper, I knew it best suited my idiotic and often anti-ergonomic way of working on cars. It can be configured both low or slammed. And while Vyper likely designed this for detailers, it's great for those of us who will assemble a brake caliper on a cold, hard floor instead of at the convenient height of a workbench. Check out this great mini creeper and many more shop items at vyperindustrial.com. That's Vyper with a Y. Don't lie, be honest, we've all done it. And Wera Tools isn't here to shame us for it. Instead, they made the perfect ratchet hammer. What's that? It's called the Coloss. It's a 1/2-inch drive ratchet nestled inside of a hefty drop forged hammer. And if the utter genius of this is lost on you, maybe we can't be friends. The additional extension is great for breaking free stubborn bolts or breaking anything that requires double-handed persuasion. I love this tool. I keep it in my go bag, whether the job calls for 6 degrees of surgically precise engagement angle or just medieval brutality. The Coloss can't be beat. Find this hilariously useful instrument as well as many others at weratools.com.
So for me, that world was them going to get away from wife and kids, and it's just 5 or 6 rich, but collectively it's $100 million in cars that are parked at Crystal Cove.
Yeah.
And it's over, and when I say 100 million, over like 6 cars, you know? And so these guys would meet, but then the internet got a hold of it and was like, well, what are you doing? And they go, well, we just get together and we get a coffee, and then Crystal Cove exploded, and then Mazda took it over from there. And that's what started that. So at its crux, that's old guys getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which, you know what? I'm here for that right now. I'm loving that. If I'm not staying up all night drinking, I'm going to be in bed at 8:30 and get up I'll be wiping my car down at 4, like ready to go to the cars and coffee. But I think that there's the element of cruising that never even came to the Honda world. We went straight from like static displays to street racing. And
really?
Yeah. Like Waterfest, when you talk about Waterfest.
Well, Waterfest for us was just a show, but like.
But Waterfest after the show, wasn't it like everybody?
H2O was the one.
That's
cruising.
The one. Yeah.
H2O
was where you cruise around. And I'm like, man, at Nopi, to an extent, at Nopi each night when we'd get to the stops for the thing, people would like gather in the parking lot, but it was still more of a cars and coffee thing. Like Honda heads were more like, not there was like, and you know, RJ and Craig Lieberman came from this group called Art in Motion. It was like a famous club.
Man, I haven't heard that.
Right? So, but it was like an Art in Motion sort of vibe where the cars are moving and you get to see them in their natural habitat sort of thing. But now it's
Did
become
you ever go
like,
to H2O?
You know, I never did.
So
That's one of my things.
The last H2O I went to was in 2004. It started to really get wild after that. But it was an amazing show because it's like beachfront property, right, in Ocean City. You basically have 2 main streets. So they have like this artery you could run one way, flip around, run back the other, and then there was like the other street that you can back on. And the show became like, the actual show didn't matter. Like what mattered was the cruise and all the mini meets.
Yes.
So like it started with like, like the Bag Society guys who all had airbags on their Volkswagens would meet. And then like the Mark I guys would have like the mini meet. And then there was just this like, it was like, oh, what are we doing today? And it's like, oh, well, at 2 o'clock, these guys are doing this. And then we got to go wash cars at the car wash. But like the whole time you'd run into people, you'd be cruising. Like there was a little bit of street racing, but like, and I'm very careful to not, be like, to dismiss it as like, oh, well, there was street racing, but it didn't matter. But like, nobody was doing like 150 miles an hour down the road. It was like people were pulling first and second.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay, still illegal, but like it's kind of harmless in a way. Look, I say that, I know people get hurt, but whatever. But it was fun, and everyone stayed in town on that strip. So like at night, everybody's out in the hotels, and the burnouts were crazy and all that, which is fun. But that was like this really cool like cruising meets a show environment. But even just the good old fashioned like, it's Friday night, and I want to go somewhere to go do car stuff. Like when I grew up in New York, I could either drive to Astoria, which was like a 15-minute drive from my house. I could go out to Francis Lewis Boulevard, which was like 30 minutes, or I could go to DPA, which was 50 minutes, but was worth the adventure because like it was where like all the old hot rod guys go. You definitely were going to see some cool stuff. Made a ton of friends there. Maybe it's just because I'm older now, but like if I don't wake up at 6:30 in the morning, I don't get to go do car stuff. Like so much has moved to cars and coffee.
This is also the family element too. It's like you got to get this stuff done before everybody else wakes up.
I know.
I'm so old now that I'm an empty nester, and my kids actually sleep in later than me when they're with me. So for me, I'm like, I could sneak out and do some car stuff. My oldest loves the car stuff. So for better or for worse, we go up to Good Vibes on ACH, and we were talking about how that's getting like a little bit. It's like a takeover canyon run. It's a weird way to describe it, but it's like no one respects the mustard.
Rich guys who feel invincible because they have cars with really
that
good traction
are way
control.
beyond their capabilities. Yeah. So, but we get up early and we go before my youngest wakes up, and then we go out and we take her to lunch or brunch or whatever, and then we go do our thing. So I guess that's kind of what it's come to. But for me, it was never that. It was either static parking. Like meet up at there was like the Krispy Kreme meet back in the day, which isn't even back in the day, it's after my day. But before that, it was street races. You'd go to the street races and you would go, like everybody would kind of hang out or work on their cars or whatever. And then you'd plan to meet, and usually there were set up spots, but sometimes there wasn't. And it was crazy to me. We were talking about if we could go back in time to the other pod, to the firing order. I could remember days, and I used to run with a crew called Red Line, and there was Cyber and all these weird little street race.
We all
teams.
had the coolest
We
names.
all,
back
yeah,
in the
right.
day.
So 8-Ball was the thing. I loved 8-Ball. They had a little 8-Ball sticker on their car. I'm like, God, I want it.
My car club was called Auto Krieg, which just loosely translates to car war.
Which I love.
Which as a kid just sounds so tough.
I
like
love that.
belong to the car war club.
Well, that's when you think about like battle version and time attack and things like that. It's like God,
Battle
it's
version was always a really
like things like that make me, I like that. But anyways, we would go to the street races, and sometimes I remember there was a guy, White Boy Paul, had a Mark II Supra with a Mark III engine. It was an A60 with a 7M GTE turbo, single turbo. This thing was a beast, for the day. It was one of the faster cars in Redline, and some company showed up. It was my first introduction to this company. It was a white Mark III Supra, which was brand new at the time, the 86.5, this with 7M motor, and somehow Paul had already swapped the engine into it from a wrecked one. But they pulled up in a white one with a Kaminari kit back in the day, and Epsilon Southern Ways mesh wheels, white wheels on a white body kit, and it said Trust in big, and along the side. The engineers from Trust came to the street races, and
this is early.
This is early. This is
like pre Super Street.
This is 80s, late 80s.
This is when Super Street still had Chevys on the cover.
No, that was Super Chevy. Was actually a different magazine. Right. Super Street was a nod to that world, for the Hondas and everything.
Wasn't there
Super
a time
Street didn't come along until 96?
Wasn't there a time though in the early Super Street though where there was still like non-Japanese? Like wasn't there like am I misremembering?
There was
this?
A move to put
where they put like a
Dodge Neon or the Turbo magazine.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
Turbo magazine
Turbo.
Did like. Who was it?
About Turbo magazine.
Gene Deputy and Kenny Duttweiler. Kenny Duttweiler did the Buicks, and then Gene Deputy did the 5.0s.
Turbo was that place where you could see both. Like you'd see like a Fox Body Mustang with like an SVO in it, but then
Turbo was about like high horsepower.
I completely
turbo
forgot
cars.
about Turbo magazine until you just said it. That was I felt like if you looked at the mags, it was like Super Street was like the culture mag. Sport Compact Car was like Dave Coleman's Engineering Nerd, which, by the way, I want to get Dave on the show.
Oh, my God.
I actually hit him up.
Are you following his
I hit
Insta?
him. Yeah, he's building the Launchio right now. It's fucking amazing.
So good.
But I actually follow him on Facebook because it feels more period correct for him. But I actually DM'd him the other day and was like, hey, you want to come on? And I was actually going to surprise him as a guest with you on the show. And not even tell you.
Oh my God.
And then just do the like Super Street versus Sport Compact Car.
I'll do that firing order, but I'll get wrecked by him. Are you kidding me?
The man is a walking encyclopedia of
the guy
engineering
came up
knowledge.
With an Ackerman
He probably couldn't name 5 wheels that matter.
No.
But he could tell you how much they weigh.
100%. Watching him do the Lancia is so...
it's good.
It's so rewarding. I think you were talking about in one of your pods, or it might have been a YouTube. I can't remember. I can't keep up with all the content you're making these days. Is about how just the essence of watching something take shape. We've lost that. And I'll go back, like Ron Carr gave me, like he introduced me to Thursday Boots, like the way they restore the boots and everything. He goes, watch this YouTube channel. And it was back when we were all at Hoonigan, and I was obsessed with any kind of content. And I looked at it, and it was so like pleasing to watch them, a 26-minute video of them restoring a boot.
Redoing the sole,
of an old boot.
A boot that looks like it had no life left
100%. They're like, we're going to bring this back to life. And like, I love like the people who say this is every nut and bolt of this restoration that I'm doing. And Dave's going into that level of nerdism with the launch. That's probably going to still leak oil and run miserably and everything. But
he's literally posting stuff that no one other than other Launchia owners should care about, but somehow I care about.
And what's crazy is like you're just living viscerally through them.
And right now we have moved this conversation to a point where if you are not over 40, you probably don't know this at all. But like Dave Coleman, like you either prayed at the altar of like the Super Street Boys, the Max Power Boys, or you were a disciple of a sport compact car, which means you never slammed your car because then you had a bad roll center. And you learned the word roll center from him. I mean, so much of that I knew about engineering and suspension because I enjoyed both magazines. Super Street was obviously bigger. There was different times, but there was a period of time in the boom.
Sport Compact Car was the biggest magazine, and Rich Chang took it Super Street to number 2, and I was fortunate to be there when Fast and the Furious took off and we hockey.
Yeah, then it exploded. So
rode that wave.
But there was definitely that like you either like if you liked one magazine over another, it told me everything about how your car was going to be set up.
100%.
Like if you were like, I subscribed to Sport Compact Car, I'm like, I knew exactly what you were into.
100%.
Right? Where if you're like, I subscribe to Super Street, I'm like, you have underglow.
Like this is a little inside baseball, but we talk about like press drives. Yeah. And you go like the journalists, we're all hacks. None of us can drive. So we show up and we're going to the event and they have Scott Pruitt there or some famous racer that's sponsored by Lexus is going to help show you the line around the track. And Scott will run around. He'll set a time. He's like, hey, there's no reason for you to drive like this, but we just want to show you. You ride shotgun. And everybody goes, okay, you lead, follow, whatever it is. So then you get behind the call. Like Josh Jaco, one of the editors of Sport Compact Car, used to go faster than the pros sometimes. And I would be like, they'd have a competition and Josh would always win. And I'd just be sitting there probably hungover because I went out with the marketing people the night before and stayed out way too late.
He was proper quick. I went to an event at Laguna Seca. I think it was actually ISF launch, and he brought like this Sport Compact Car Project Evo with him to the event, and was like just like meticulously doing like a string alignment
air pressure,
all of that. I'm like, what is this dude doing? And then just went out there and ran a ripper of a lap. And I realized I was like, yeah, that guy knows how to drive.
Yeah, 100%. All of them. Yeah. They had more degreed engineers on Sport Compact Car than they did at Road and Track, Motor Trend, Automobile.
The Sport Compact guys would always just destroy the Road and Track guys on track.
100%.
I mean, I don't think people talk about this much, but like most journalists are slow.
Are terrible drivers.
There's a lot of journalists who appear on podcasts who talk about driving fast, who I have been at events with, and they're not fast. Yep. I'm not saying I'm fast. I'm saying I'm faster than them, but I'm not fast. And then occasionally you'll go to an event with a Chris Harris and you're like, that man is fast.
Exactly.
You're like, that guy actually knows how to drive. It's funny because now I went to an event and like a press event, and it's like press events are so different today because you have this whole influencer group that's there. Right.
Which is crazy to me because now this is the do it all for the gram world where it's more about like sharing the experience and almost like coming up with a script that ChatGPT wrote for you. That's like, I'm going to tell you all about smoking Agata or something. And then not even really ever experiencing. I'm not saying you need to go to a shop, but it's like, you need to have a passion. You don't just need to be about it for the content, you know? And if you are, that's fine too. But when these people start going to press launches and driving cars, because they do have a level of influence that the automakers are looking for.
They have more influence than magazines.
Then 100%. But is that giving the automaker the best review?
I think it depends on who it is. Because I think on some sides you have people like, people we know, like Vinny and Ron are both good. They're both good wheelmen.
100%.
I mean, Ron literally has a Pikes Peak like record for being a good wheelman.
So crazy.
And I think that's one of those things that from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, those buffoons over at Hoonigan, they just do donuts. But it's like those guys like really can stitch together a good lap.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you have like Cleetus, who like is are you paying attention to what's happening with Cleetus in NASCAR right now?
Yeah. He's actually like,
but like, have you watched the hatred that's coming out of it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because they look at him as pure influencer.
Yeah, and it's like, he's not pure influencer. Does he have the seat time as everybody else? No, but like, I think the Cleetus going there is one of the greatest things that has happened to NASCAR. I haven't seen this much excitement in NASCAR since Ross Chastain basically just did the video game ride the wall and pass like half the
love that.
Like, and they also got mad about that. And I started to think like, NASCAR, I think you're your own problem. Like the expression, you're stepping on your own dick. Like if you don't realize that these things that make you unhappy are actually the things other people want to see, maybe you don't understand like where the current space is and where the audience is. But like the Cleetus thing, I think is interesting because there's this weird world where I think the old school journalists look at influencers and don't take them seriously and feel like they're not real.
Yes,
right?
but there's two categories of influencers. You know, when you look at someone like a Cleetus or Chris Harris versus someone who makes tutu sounds, you know.
Well,
and,
of course,
you know,
and that's
so,
the thing.
you know.
And when you go to some of these, like,
and there's no hate against that. Honestly, please don't cancel me again. So you know, it's like, but you know, everyone has their
we need
lane.
to get back to hating people.
You know?
If I'm being honest.
God, I would love to hate people again. I have so many strong opinions that I bite my tongue on that, you know, I'm waiting for the statute of limitations to go out. We're talking about particular movie franchises and, you know, and my thoughts about all of them. And it's like, it's hard to like hate on some of these trends, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
I got a lot of things. I got a lot of hate for movies that I'm open with. Although I did say to you before, I did enjoy the F1 movie, which is one of the most hated movies in the automotive industry.
I don't understand why too. I don't understand why too.
Because people wanted it to be like a race. They wanted it to like play out like a real race, and it's like nobody wants to watch that.
No, God, no. You know, I think they did a great
movie.
job like balancing between the suspension of disbelief that you need to have, a little bit of a story. 60-year-old F1 driver, I get it, you know, all that. But,
I'll watch Brad Pitt in anything.
Exactly.
fucking
Come
great.
on, you know, like
But it works.
You know.
Rewind back to where we were before, I don't know, which was I wanted to go back and touch on the analog thing, but we'll get back to that. But I think back to like the super street and sport compact car thing, because like that's kind of like where we were at, and that's like your era.
I'm still creating content, you know, by the way. So I don't like to I hesitate to define myself to an era. I don't know.
That's interesting. Because like I question that about, like, I think I'm sitting pretty comfortably in that, like, I've already peaked.
God, no. I mean,
I realized like I had like a peak moment, which was like probably like 2017, 2018 was like peak. Like Hoonigan was ripping, like there literally I was on a roll where like I could do no wrong. Like Gymkhana was crushing, like life was pretty good. Like I got pretty skinny for my wedding. Like I was just like firing on a bunch of cylinders. A few of my cars ran, like, you know, it was pretty cool.
Define a few.
Well, actually, right now, more of my cars run than ever have. I have like 12 cars running at the moment, but yeah, it was just like at the time, it was, and then like, you know, it's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of pacing now. Like there may be another peak that comes.
That's to me, I'm not Flashback Friday, Throwback Thursdays, 4 touchdowns in a single game. That's not.
You're not. What's his face? Al Bundy.
I'm not bundying it at all. Yeah, Polk High. You know,
again,
so.
Gen X.
Yep,
references. Exactly.
But for me, I always want to be looking at what's next. I always want to be looking at what I could do next.
Right.
You know, for me, I left print publishing I was at Peterson. I got the dream job, and I left it to go do overboost.com. You know, and then I got sucked back into it, which I'm eternally grateful for, to do Super Street. And I left that to do YouTube content in 2007 before anybody knew what YouTube was. So my too soon junior moment.
Man, you've been too soon on a lot.
100%. I put, you know, Knob Taniguchi's, I talked about that in the other pod, Drift Car on the cover. I did VIP. I did the very first Gymkhana event in the United States before Ken even, you know, showed up.
That's what
I introduced Ken Block to Gymkhana.
Yeah. Well, you know? I introduced him to the event, and then you introduced him to
the Gymkhana.
Yeah, we're both involved.
Oh, you were the one who brought him there. So,
but I think because either you or who was the other person?
Ken Takahashi.
He sent me an email.
He was the one who was doing Gymkhana USA.
And so he sent me an email about having 0 to 60 come. And I was like, and at the time we didn't have any budget or anything to go drive there, but I knew that Ken was local. So I sent Ken a note and I said, hey, can you get one of the Vermont rally cars to go do this? And he hit a Vermont sports car, and they were like, oh, we don't really have anything that'd be good for it. So then Ken just built that car. He built the car for that event. And then the event was supposed to do a second event. It didn't. And now Ken had just dropped like 40, 50 grand into building this STI and was like, all right, I guess I'm going to like just go shoot my own film. And then we birthed the Gymkhana series.
Do you know that he also talked to me about filming that?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, he was.
He said when I left Super Street and I started doing Rice Boy, he said, yeah, you're doing YouTube content. He goes, does anybody, he asked me 3 questions. Does anybody do video parts?
Right.
And I'm like, what's a video part? And he's like escape video. I'm like, is that what you call those? You know, it's like, you know, it's like, oh, I get it. When Dirtic comes down the 20 stair gap and that's a video
that's
part.
The part. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. So everybody has a part in this, you know, it's like, oh, okay, this is the Sunday morning video or whatever. This is Thrashers. You know, I went, oh, okay. You know, I'm like, no one does that. You know, and he goes, oh, that's strange. And he's all, what about like lifestyle brands in the space? I'm like, what do you mean? What's a lifestyle brand? What do you mean with lifestyle brand? He goes, like a brand that is like DC shoes. And I'm like, oh, for cars? And I'm like, no, God, no. And he goes, well, what apparel do you wear? I'm like, well, if you like hot rods, you wear a Moon Eye shirt or a Hooker Header shirt. Yeah. And if you like JDM, you're wearing an HKS shirt.
You're wearing the brand shirt.
You're wearing a brand shirt. And that's how you identify. You and I talk about tribes a lot. We always talk about, you know, when you come into a school and you don't know anybody and you wear the Thrasher shirt because you want to find your tribe. You know, it's like
it was the Hoonigan thing. It was like
100%.
That was what we built. Hoonigan
you raise that flag and you hope that someone sees you. It's like first day in the prison yard. You know, you take your shirt off and you show your ink. You know.
Do you remember the thing? What you wore to your first day in college?
God, no, I was a degenerate. I was just.
See, I totally remember.
You wore something.
I was at University of Vermont. I was really big into snowboarding, which a lot of them were, and I was really into like punk rock at the time. And I want to say I wore I knew I wore a punk shirt and a snowboard hat. I think it was like an Op Ivy t-shirt and like a Ride Snowboards hat or something like that. And it was literally just like putting out the
hey, does anyone,
within half an hour, met my roommate, Dan Kennedy, who still friends with till today, because he was like, hey, you like Op Ivy? I like Op Ivy too. And when we started Hoonigan, that was like one of the things we discussed was like, you need to build like this. The goal here is to build a brand that when someone goes to their first day of something and they want to find, community, that like it's literally wearing a flag. And you have no idea how many times people have said to me like, oh man, I was at this bar, dude was wearing a Hoonigan shirt. I walked over and was like, hey, let me buy you a drink. You like Hoonigan? And like, now we're best friends, And like, it's like, there was like that's like such a weird thing, but it just works, So, but it's true. Cause when Ken was asking that question back in the day, there really weren't like automotive
the automotive
lifestyle
brands were someone who put like
wearing like a
step and repeat of a Tri-5 Chevy that was like a Tommy Bahama. It was like terrible, No one really
it wasn't like a brand.
Or you would wear a snowboarding shirt or a skateboarding shirt to say, I like cars because I'm driving a car, but I also like this. This is how I identify. And to me, that was so shocking to me. And then he goes, what do you want to do I went down to the office in Oceanside and everything, and he goes, what do you want to do with this brand? He goes, I'm all about it. He was one of my first sponsors. They were one of my first advertisers, DC Shoes, sent us a bunch of swag, and we did them a bunch of commercials for them that were more car-based. They were working with Von Gittin at the time.
This was
Rice Boy TV.
At Rice Boy TV.
So met with Ken. He said, I'm very interested in doing YouTube because we do video parts, but it was all like VHS or a DVD that you get in a magazine. He goes, but now this YouTube world, I love it and I want to do something with cars. Yeah. And he goes, what do you got? And I'm like, here's what I got. A friend of mine, he has something that it's like a helicopter, but it's not a helicopter. It's like a remote-controlled helicopter. It's not a remote-controlled helicopter. It's called a drone. It's a drone. and Craig Lieberman of all people, and he flies it behind the cars, and he could almost kind of keep up with a car. What I'm saying is not one car, not two cars, not three cars, but all of the Falcon Drift team, because Vaughn's on DC. You put the rest of them in DC Shoes too. You have the whole team, Tony Angelo, Forsberg, Turk, all of them, Ryan Hampton. And I go, then you run a train, not that kind of train. Then you run a train around the bank and you shoot it in every different angle and you make the most epic drift video ever that it's one lap, but it is shot 100 different ways, and then you stitch that all together and you create the perfect little music video for that. And he goes, that's not bad, that's pretty cool. He goes, what if you did it with a rally car? And I went, a rally car? No one's gonna watch that. And that was it. That was as close as I came with Ken. So that's how I came with Ken. And
then he called me and was like, what do you think about rally cars? I'm like, I love rally cars.
And then the Martellis and you guys do the Gymkhana practice, and then I was like, oh, that's what he meant. I'm like, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, that was it. He did it. The other one, I'll say is my miss you moment is you and I talking. way back, my first stint was doing the Gymkhana video and doing the Gymkhana event.
Yep.
And then Scotto famously told me, he goes, I go, why do you want me? And he goes, because you're doing Time Attack and you're producing events and you have this like, this world, you know? And I said, I could put it together, but live TV, the chances for this not going well. And we built the rules package and we slammed it all together in like 50 days. And then,
by the way, you are playing this down. This was Gymkhana Grid as a event at X Games.
Which you want me to play it up?
Was like no, but I mean, it was a major
No,
event.
but do you want me to play it up? I'll play it up right now for you. I'll tell you this. Even like Bob Burnquist didn't get to bring the mega ramp. Bob Burnquist is an X Games legend. He had to do his own event, and ESPN would look at that event, Street League Skateboarding. They're doing their own event, and they're like, that event's doing really well. Do you want to bring it to the X Games stage? Ken is the only athlete in the history of the X Games to not even have an event that ESPN went, carte blanche, Ken, what do you want to do? And he's like, I'd like to do a Gymkhana event. Oh, what kind of event? And he goes,
we had only done that one event at Irwindale.
Yeah,
we did the test event at the Forum.
We did the test event at the Forum, and then we did the event at the Irwindale, and then that was it.
We did the main event.
And then we did the main event, and we didn't even have any cars, and they were doing Global Rallycross. Global Rallycross had proven itself out. So they're like, okay, use these cars.
You know, in the end, it had the same, if not more, viewership than Global Rallycross.
The
format was great.
So hard. But I will tell you, like, meanwhile, I get divested from you because you and I very symbiotic relationship. We work well together. I'm with Ken and Matt Chillo, bless his heart, but Matt's like Ken's body man. And he's just like, where are we at with this, Nads? Where are we at with this, Nads? I'm all, shut up, you little parrot. Let me talk to Ken, love you, Matt. But, and
be careful, Matt's at Haggerty now. You might
I know.
You might need to work there one day.
So I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out, but you guys gave me 55 days. And I'm like, Scotto, what's going on here? And you're like, Nads, consider this like we're putting a suicide vest on you. And if you could run in and somehow get the vest undone and drop the bomb and get out, you have a job afterwards, So that was my audition, essentially, to work with you guys. And I was like, this is brutal. So didn't have enough budget. Dan, I can't remember his last name, but Dan from ESPN was my contact, my connect. And this guy was like, one of the producers at Hoonigan, everything's fine. When meanwhile, everything's burning down around us. He goes, you got this. I didn't have enough budget. Ken was under the impression that ESPN would pay for everything. ESPN was under the impression that Ken would bring a turnkey production. And I'm stuck in the middle having to tell Ken, ESPN, he goes, you tell them they better pay, $250,000 because I want to do an entire, I want to do a revamp.
I remember this conversation.
And it was literally, this is my Fast and the Furious moment, much like the car. We took the elevator to the top of the mega ramp, and Ken, Ron, Scotto, and Matt were up with me. And it was literally like Ken holding the back of my shirt. Do you see the problem, Ted? Do you see the problem, Ted? We ain't got no engines, Ted. He's like hanging me over the side of the thing going, do you see this course? This doesn't look like the course that I envisioned. It is literally the day before the event. So we had to go get...
you guys had to build the course in like a 24-hour period
because
they were using...
the rallycross course, they had to take down...
And they were using part of the mega ramp.
And they were using part of it for the mega ramp. So the mega ramp came down and we only had 24 hours. I'm like, this is not going to work. We didn't even have K-rails and everything. And if you know Japanese Gymkhana, it's ridiculous. There's like 2 cones.
Yeah, it's really
And someone
simple.
does, every single car does like the same 40 maneuvers around the two. I'm like, how do you even, American drivers
or
don't
British
even,
Auto Park is like the
100%. I'm like, is
called.
that a parking box? I don't even see the box. And they slide and then they get out of it. And then they're like doing everything with just literally
some
2
dude
cones.
in a caterum who
exactly. It's just like crushing. So rest in peace, Alex Vyper brought the caterum. Remember that caterum that he brought? He just I just loved him to death. He's one of my boys. I bring him up. Alex Vyper, famous drifter,
one of the first.
Yeah, he was a kid from Hawaii that just did very well on FD in the early days. But he was a pirate. He didn't play by the rules. He was so
I may have different memories of other people than him because I saw a bunch of people posting about we miss him, but he was like such a he was like so fierce about this or that.
He was ready to throw blows for everything.
But super nice to me. Like he's the first person I ever met in drifting. I met him because I flew out in 2004 for JGTC D1 at Fontana.
Oh my God, you were there?
Yeah,
that was a moment.
I started at Rides. It was like my first month or two, and they were like, "Well, is there anything that you think is coming up that's cool?" And I'm like, "You know what? The hip hop magazine Rides needs to cover Japanese touring car.
I promise you." There's going to be a brand called Bathing Ape that comes out 15 years from now.
I was immediately abusing my privilege. Immediately. Like I wasn't, like my healthcare hadn't kicked in. I was
like,
already abusing my
going,
privilege. And flew out and we went to JGTC, me and Tony Harmer. And and I met him there. And it was like drifting was still kind of new, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like, it was like, but it was new, but everyone was talking
Formula
about it.
Drift had
like
only been around for 4 years.
Maxim was like talking about it. Like
was
everybody was already on it. And we went there and I met him. I think I want to say I did a ride along with him in one of the RSR cars, but
he drove the S2.
Yeah. And he was just awesome. He was such a great guy. And then he came to the Gymkhana Grid event in the cater room.
And just wrecked everyone.
And he came up to me and I was like, hey, thanks for coming today. And he was like, oh yeah, no doubt, whatever, man. It was like super fun. I was like, yeah, because you just created a new rule. No cater rooms.
But I think he would wreck shop even if he drove an old
He was
Corolla.
an amazing driver.
But the fact that he had the cater room, every other driver was like, bruh, really? You know, but he was such a great personality.
This was he just passed just the other week. I was so sad to hear that. It was it's just he was such one of those dudes. I hadn't seen him in years. So.
Yeah, I hadn't either. His health took a turn. Yeah.
But
anyways, don't want to bring the pod down.
Hey, it's part of it's part of life. But I want to give him his flowers. I mean, dude was a ripper.
100%.
And was one of those early dudes that influenced so many people. So many people you think were early, like he was earlier. Like he was definitely there. So
one of the OGs.
But he's also the reason that we don't allow caterers in Gymkhana Grid because they're rippers. So yeah, Ken was like Ken's whole reason for not. He's like, that's too fast and it doesn't look cool.
Well, yeah.
He's like, that just doesn't look cool. I was like, yeah, I get it. But I have like a lot of regrets. I don't know if I'd say regrets, but like I just wish some things worked out differently at Hoonigan. We were drinking from a fire hose the whole time.
100%.
There was so much opportunity. And I constantly tell people, because I'm like, oh yeah, like we had this idea. And they're like, oh, why didn't it happen? It's like, because we had 15 other ideas at the exact same time.
All the time.
So it's like, yeah, the idea was there, but like there was another idea. And even if that idea wasn't as good as the other idea we had, either someone was willing to pay for it or it just started to move forward. And like, you knew how it was at Hoonigan. Once something started to move forward, it was like, okay, I guess we're all doing this. Like the train's leaving the station. And one of the bigger regrets that I had was that we didn't spend more time trying to make Gymkhana Grid work, because I feel like it filled this interesting gap between drifting and rally, which is like drifting is a really fun sport. It's obviously created this massive culture that like has really shifted, I think, the way that, you know, a lot of people look at cars and how to go and have fun in cars. It brought sort of the skateboarding mentality of like, this is just cool and fun. But I think Gymkhana Grid took the dynamic style of that, put it against the clock, and made it more like rally in its style of like, it's still time, you got to be fast, right? But there is a style to it as well. It kind of like mixed those two. And I thought that there was this really good opportunity, especially when drifting was kind of going through like a lull, to like come in there and be like, hey, you can take your drift car and come and compete in this against the clock. And it would speak to different drivers in different ways. Like Dayoshi Hara would have destroyed at Gymkhana Grid because his brain was wired for it. And he did. He did. I mean, he won. He won in a two-wheel drive class. And like, you know,
that Falcon, the discount tire S13.
S13. Like he was one of those drivers. I was like, this I think really speaks really well to him. And look, you know, he's someone who retired from drifting and went road racing, right? Like he eventually wanted to go after the clock. And it never happened because Frank, just point blank, Ken was like, I don't want to race in parking lots. Because Ken knew that in order for him to go do it, like in order for it to happen, in order for it to be busy, like for it to happen, he would have to be involved. And he had so little time that he was like, if I have a choice of what I want to do on the weekend, go race on the stages or go race in a parking lot, like I'm going to choose racing stages, you know, in the forest.
100%.
And I get it. But for me, I was looking at it as like, this is this really cool thing that we can build. And you had already, I think you had you left Hoonigan before Ken passed? Or after?
I left before he passed. Right before he passed. Like literally like a few months before.
We we desperately tried to make Gymkhana Grid happen.
I remember, yeah.
Because in my mind, I saw this is like the real legacy for him. Would be like, let's build this series, let's create this sport. Because if 20 years from now I'm driving down the road and I drive past a parking lot and kids are doing Gymkhana instead of autocross, like that would be a major change, right? Like that would have been this thing. Because I always thought that the sport of Gymkhana Grid like had so much opportunity, because like autocross is only fun for the driver.
100%.
Gymkhana is actually fun to watch.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
but if you make it fun, there was two things. There's two things that we said about that. We started live in front of 30 million people on ESPN. We started with the Super Bowl, and you had always said we need the Little League to fill that in, because you can't just go to the World Series. You know, you gotta build feeders to get up to there. But when we did it, Ken wanted to put a good show on, and that was the one thing he did.
Yeah.
And Ken was great. He's an amazing driver, an amazing showman, and he was an amazing marketer. And we all learned so much from him, right? And I would watch Ken go around the course and like sideways at the ESPN and like come in. There was the tetherball hit, and he would hit it perfectly with the side of his the side plate of his rear wing, and it would just send the ball spinning. Tanner Faust,
I knew you were going to say Tanner.
Consummate racer, would tell me, he goes, how hard do we have to hit the ball? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, where do we need to hit it? And I'm like, we didn't justify that. And I said, you know, and then we started to quickly come up with a rule, knowing what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Saying you can't hit it with a windshield. And I think that was one of the original rules. You had to be sideways.
Yeah, I think it was like behind
and
the
Tanner
door.
was a two-time champion drifter.
He knew how to put a car anywhere.
Put a car, and he had his Volkswagen
But he was
Beetle.
also highly competitive.
He was highly competitive. So as Ken came in like this and would smack the thing, Tanner would go, and it would like barely like the ball.
But he got the check box.
And then the flag would go up and saying, the driver achieved. And Ken came to me and goes, well, he can't do that. And I'm like, I don't know what to say, boss. I'm like, technically he can, but I'm like, what do you want me to say? You know, again, Ted, we got no engines here. You know, he's like grabbing me by the scruff of my neck. And I'm like,
but that's the problem, is anything you create in racing, people are going to try to figure out ways.
The day they figure out how to put two cars against each other is the day they figure out how to cheat. Yep.
Yeah, it's true. So, but no, that's like something, and I tried to do that. And, you know, the guys at Hoonigan, you know, have brought back the Gymkhana Grid series, and they're trying, but it needs, Gymkhana Grid is a really great support show to something else.
Yeah, 100%. It needs to be. It needs to be one of the rings of the circus.
Yeah, it's like you could go to another event, and we through the years we talked to Monster Jam about doing it as part of the pre-show. We talked to NASCAR about doing it. We talked to IndyCar.
Yeah, we were going to go. We even were looking at ESPN X Games in Dallas. I flew out to Dallas and looked at COTA and tried to figure it out.
The reason we didn't go there is there just wasn't the footprint.
There's no pavement at the time. I'm like, who'd have thunk they'd build a track where it was literally dirt parking lots? And I'm like, how is this possible?
Environmentalists,
yeah.
God damn it. Probably got wind power too. Yeah, and I still like, I hope there's like another chapter in my life where like I get to take another swing at trying to make grid into a sport that's more accessible to other people, but I don't know. I'll have to call you because you wrote the rule book. So,
yeah, I mean, that's like, I get into it with the guys from Grid Life because I wrote the Time Attack rule book, and Adam Jabay is always going, I hate that rule book you wrote. And I'm like, those are the rules. That's one of the things we talk about Time Attack, like, and we talk about Ken, and there's like a spirit of competition there that the Japanese have that the Australians and the Americans just don't get, because Australians and Americans figure out how to cheat. Japanese are sort of like, hey, we have a kind of a, you know,
the spirit
gentleman's spirit of the agreement is like, this should be like a tuner car, right? Where the Aussies are like, you know, Andrew Brilliant comes in and like designs every kind of like under tunnel aero and hammerhead looking thing that looks more like a spaceship than a car, where it's like, okay. And even the Japanese are like under Suzuki.
Did Americans ruin motorsport? Is that the take?
You know, we'll find a way, you know.
Our need to just like dominate everything.
You know, I mean, yeah.
Well, sorry, F1. On the Time Attack one, have you watched the Grid Life? I know this is like a few years old now, but it still feels like a new concept. But like the touge style Time Attack they do, where it's like the
two cars,
and it's like the time between them.
I think that would work if the cars were A, more evenly matched, and B, it took place on a legit little touge, because that's the whole appeal of it, the tightness of it.
Yeah.
When you're on a track where you could go, you know, three wide, and you know, it's like two cars by themselves. I don't, you know, it doesn't quite translate. If you did that at like, the balcony, or I mean, Horse Thief Mile, Horse Thief
yeah.
at Willow, that might be something that would be more, the audience would respond to it a little bit more. Also, the way that they produce their content, I think you and I could probably show them a couple things about like the way that they need to actually film it.
They just got this massive roll up with Racer. Call Taro, get in there, figure it out. Chris is going to come on the show in like a week or two.
Nice. I love Chris. There was a talk back in the day when, I guess we could say it now, statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Chris was thinking about selling it to Hoonigan.
Well, we tried to buy him.
And I was actually the one that talked him out of it. I could tell you now. He was like, we literally just met and we instantly like Honda nerd head meld, engage. Yeah. And we're like, oh my God, you like this? I like that too. Oh my God, we all like the same things. We just went off.
Have you driven a Fit? You drove a Fit?
You drove a Fit? You have an Active? You got a Honda Active? Oh my God, can I drive the Honda Active? And then so Chris and I became fast friends since then. Yeah. And he's like, well, what do you think, man? Because he was, apparently he knew who I was.
Was this?
This is when we brought him out to Hoonigan to have the meeting, and we were literally
when Wheel Pros wanted to buy them.
We were positioning it as this was going to be a piece of the puzzle that we were, and I'm like, hey, if you want to take this as a golden parachute and get out of town, but you're not going to like what Wheel Pros and Hoonigan are.
Hey, by the way, the golden parachute turned out to be Rust-Oleum gold. It all fucking flaked off, crashed right to the floor, broke my hip.
So for me, I'm like, I straight up told him, I said, this is not your sell.
Yeah.
I hope it makes sense on paper, motorsport marketing media all together, Racer and Grid Life and ID Agency. Yeah. And I'm tight with Victor and I know the people at Racer and I know, I'm like, let's see what they do. I'm happy to hear that Chris seems happy. But for me, I think Grid Life to me, and God, I hate to use this phrase, but it is that intersection of cars and culture. That true intersection. Anytime you have an event promoter, someone at Coachella will sign Scion back when they were doing music festival stuff, and they go, let's do a car show. So when Coachella tries to do a car show, it fails miserably. Much like if the people at Import Expo or what, I don't mean to call out a particular show, but let's just say a car show tries to do a music component, it fails miserably. Chris and the crew get that perfect.
Yeah, it's because he comes from the music world, but
he's a car fanatic.
He's a real car guy.
He gets it on both fronts. They would always ask me every year. They're like, "What do you think of the lineup?" And I'm like, "I don't know a single artist, so I guess that's a good thing."
Yeah,
you don't want me to know. You're
like, is Depeche Mode playing this year?
Exactly. I would see that show.
Yeah, I would too.
So for me, I'm like, I like what they did. You could walk the paddock, and I've been to a lot of Grid Life events. You could walk the paddock in the morning and see the Shitty Skid Kids and that crew, and then somewhere around 3 o'clock.
By the way, I love Shitty Skid Kids.
That's just
Shitty Skid Kids is a brand.
Oh,
I would make that sticker and sell it.
100%.
Shitty Skid Kids.
I want to be those kids. I can't. My Civic, my kid's like, you got to sticker bomb one of the windows, and I'm like, I should. I'm countercultural, and I'm like, well, where do I put the first sticker? And then no.
You're like, my OCD's not going to allow me.
I like the sticker, but I don't know. What if the glass breaks and then I lost that sticker? I'm never getting that sticker back. And I'm like, maybe if I tape them on or like.
Oh, this is so true. I have a shoebox full of stickers.
100%. I can't commit.
I won't use because I only have like 1 or 2 or 10 of them.
Cannot commit.
There's nothing valuable enough for me to put the sticker on.
100%. Same thing.
But why are we like this?
I don't know, but I want to be that. I want but you can do it. I've seen you with like Napalm Nova and some of your. You're like
disposable cars.
You go. It gets that grit about it. Like Zach somehow makes that K5 look all at once like, oh, this is just a barn find, but yet it's got a 572 big block in it, and it's like it's clean but not clean, but yet and it's well used.
Right, yeah.
Vin and I are on that other end of the spectrum but Vin actually drives his cars though. He drives them through the rain. Where I'm
Mickey's worse than all of us. While we were waiting to do firing order, Mickey was like picking dust off of his car. I'm like, you drove it here. Like, of course there's dust on it. I was like, this is so different between the two of us. Meanwhile, my 911 has like 6 months worth of dirt on it. And I'll drive it like that 2 cars and coffee. And Vinny will be like, dude, you didn't even wash it? Like, what the fuck? I'm like,
There's a group that's on the come up right now, Doghouse Garage.
Okay, and I actually don't know them.
Yeah, they're just crushed. They have
good name.
Yeah, Doghouse Garage. So they had an event in Orange County at an Acura dealership. Park your car inside the dealership, and they invited me to put my car inside the dealership. My kids were in town. My oldest is like, oh my God, this is really cool. And I'm like, okay. The morning of the meet, dumping rain, and I'm like, kiddo, I'm sorry, I can't take the car. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't take the car. And she's like, just drive it. I'm like, no. It's going to stay in the shop under the car cover, and it's good the way it is. And we'll just, it's just dumping.
This is such a Southern California
100%.
Because in
everywhere
New York,
else,
you're like, yeah, I know it's raining. The show's still going on.
We're still going to go. And she, they, when I got there, people with like cars that were 10 show cars. Mine's a driver, it's not even that nice. All drove their cars. No wipers in the rain, like slammed on R-Comp tires and everything, R-Compound. And I'm like, and my kid's like, see, that guy drove his car. Oh, look it. That girl drove her car. Oh, look it.
So you didn't drive your car?
I didn't drive my car.
So what'd you take?
I took my daily and we parked
Civic?
outside, and he's like, did you bring your car? I didn't bring it into the show, but I just like parked it. I'm like, it's raining, And then they're like, oh. And then all of them were like, yeah, we're going to pay for it later. And they're all Instagram stories of them washing their cars.
Yeah, just give them more things to do on
yeah,
Instagram.
It's like, I'm like, I will not, like, I let her drive. I used to, whatever, Mexico, whatever you want to say. I used to run Mulholland. That's how old I am in this little mini truck. And we go up and down Mulholland. I showed her like the little.
I just forget that you had mini truck roots.
I had mini truck roots.
Was mini trucks before, like, was that the first thing for you?
That was my first thing because I raced BMX. I could like Bob Harrow and all RL Osborne, all the people from BMX Action Magazine had lifted Hawaiian style trucks, Toyota SR5s, or they had slammed mini trucks and they throw the bike in the back and they.
Did you have a Toyota?
BMXers. I had a Toyota, all Toyotas. I had 2 lifted, 2 leveled. If you use the parlance of our time.
The vehicle I would build if I could build I always liked the Mitsubishi Mighty Max.
Oh my God!
I don't know why it's just
and
so cool.
You know what you do back when they had the stickers?
4G63 in it or something.
When they had the stickers on the Mitsubishi on the back, you change it to "Might You Be High." You never saw that in the old mini truck?
No, but it sounds exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just like taking the Toyota. That was the Toyota one. Just say yo.
Yoda or yo, and then there used to be, and please again don't cancel me, but no fat chicks. My truck will scrape. It's like all that. Every era, whatever, Volkswagen, all that. But I had a my end all be all was a 1980 long bed SR5. And I pulled the motor and I went to a place called California Mini Truck. It had a 20R actually, 20R carbureted 20R. And I got a 18RG out of a Celica that I didn't know was an 18RG at the time. So I actually went down in displacement, but it was a built motor and it had dual Mikuni side drafts on it and Doug Thorley header. And I had them swap it into the car and it ripped. But the problem was there's nothing in the back. So the rears would just spin. I had black Enki 92s, Stormtrooper look.
I feel like mini trucks are starting to come back.
Oh, mini trucks are having a resurgence,
You saw Georgia's.
So, yeah.
That one's super sick. But like,
Jordan, you're talking about Jordan?
No. Georgia do you know her?
Oh, Georgia Aaron. Yeah. I don't know her, but I know of her.
Yeah. She came into Hoonigan like at the end and like, so, and I forget how we even connected, but she was like doing something and I was like, oh, your shit's kind of cool. And I was like, hey, you should stop by Hoonigan one day. And then she stopped by and then just like ended up on content.
Yeah.
I was like,
I love
we
her
need
stuff.
a little
She does,
female mix
she
into
does
what we were
good.
doing. But,
who's the kid? No, God, I'm blanking on his name. But he had the blue 520 with the Wilcox wheels on it and it had the shell top on it. He was at Hoonigan.
Oh yeah, I forget. Yeah.
Was it Jordan?
I just want a dancing bed car.
Oh my God. So, but to me, back when I was coming in, dancing beds were terrible. And now the fog of memory, we're going, oh yeah, I want dancing bed.
Have you watched the guy who has the dancing bed, but he uses it for real like construction shit?
Oh yeah, he goes
to the dump. He goes to the dump and he's like backing it up, and like everyone else is like backing up there like F-250, and he pulls in, slammed, and then all of a sudden
hard body.
He's like flipping it, shaking it out. It is like I like there's things you see and you're like, this is what the internet was built for. Like this is what I wanted to see. Like 100%. This is what I wanted to be delivered. 100%. I didn't want to be delivered all the atrocities of war. I wanted to be delivered a dancing bed emptying out construction debris, like to the absolute chagrin of other construction workers who were near him. Like, what is this man doing? Oh, hey, what's up? Here we are with another Storytime interruption brought to you by my good friends at FCP Euro. Look, if you've spent any time in the Euro scene, you have heard the term OEM Plus. Okay, for those of you who don't know, OEM Plus is modifying your car with just OEM parts, usually taken from either a higher spec car or a newer car. To most people, it is the morally superior way to modify a car and still consider yourself a purist. Anyway, back to what we were saying. The other day, driving the S8, it was brought to my attention that it needed new brakes. And I thought, oh, I probably need to fix these. But why fix these when you can upgrade these? I found a bunch of big brake kits I could go buy, but then I realized that there was a really good OEM Plus option, which was upgrading to the next generation D3, either A8 or S8 brakes. I started looking on Marketplace. That's usually where I go. And it occurred to me, you know what? FCP Euro probably has most of what I need, and they did. Head over to fcpeuro.com, filled the cart, and surprisingly, it was not that much more than buying the parts used. That's right, I was able to get brand new parts to do this great OEM Plus upgrade, all from FCP Euro, brand new. If you too want to mod your car and you like the OEM Plus route, remember, you can go to FCP Euro and find a lot of those OEM Plus upgrades right there if you know what you're looking for. fcpeuro.com for those of us who have an affliction for European cars. Fucking crazy. So, okay, conversation switch. You have been in the business for a long time, right? How many decades now? As an enthusiast?
As an enthusiast since 1984. As a career, 1998. Okay. 1998.
So you've been here for a long time. Wow. Do you think we are at a peak moment in car culture right now in terms of the mainstream being aware and being involved in car culture?
Well, when we talk about this is what the internet is for, there's so many different things to occupy everyone's attention span. So before, when we talk about magazines, that's your single source of truth. Now, there's so many YouTube channels out. All of my friends make YouTube content. I can't possibly watch all. Right. My life is spent sitting on the toilet watching at 1.75 speed. It's like that's when I consume. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I get the idea. Such and such did this week, and that's it.
By the way, I hate how I sound at 1.75 because I review these at 1.75, and I realize a lot of the audience listens to that, which made me also realize that if I met some of these people in real life, they wouldn't understand why I sound this way.
Do we need to talk faster or slower right now?
I think we have to talk
really slow. So that way,
sipping on Sizz
at 1.75.
Yeah, it's normal.
We sound like Christopher Walken.
Yeah, so we just drink some lean on the show. It slows the whole thing down. Anyway.
But I do feel like because there's so much content to consume, it's harder for people to keep up. But I'll also say,
you're talking about the content side.
Yes,
what I'm talking about
is like
so I'll give you a peak that we both lived through. 2 peaks. Fast and Furious 1 was like this peak in import tuning, right? All 100%. Of a sudden, Maxim magazine, GQ, everyone's talking
covering
about it, right?
all of it. Yes.
I think it was a short-lived peak, but there was definitely
was a bubble.
Hip hop car culture was a massive peak.
Talking about like dub and
rides, Pimp My Ride, like that whole era.
MTV Cribs with the dub presents the garage.
Like that lasted for 4 or 5 years. I was living in it. It felt like this massive peak. Like people knew what spinners were, Spreewell. I mean, it had transcended car culture, became pop culture.
100%.
Right? And then we fell from there. And I felt like the dark ages of like 2008 until maybe like 20, I don't know, maybe even like 2020, like maybe 2021 was like an enthusiast era where like if you weren't an enthusiast, you probably weren't paying much attention.
The ride or dies are sticking around.
Yeah, like if this wasn't your thing, no one was casually involved in the space, right? And then like, you've got like the 9/11 explosion. Luftgekühlt sort of brings in this like, more high-end community. You've got sort of this like new explosion of supercars, and then all of a sudden F1 explodes because of Netflix's Drive to Survive. And like now you got all these like I go to like, neighborhood events. And like my neighbors who are not in the cars are talking about F1, and I'm like, I don't follow F1 anymore. Like I have no idea what you're talking about because like it is just not where I'm at. But they are all like super saturated in it, like a whole new sport. But now you've got, John Chase and I talked about this. It's like Diamond Supply Co. makes Ferrari t-shirts. Yeah. Like we tried so hard to get into Zoomies, and they told us we didn't.
With the Gritty TRD, Gritty and TRD collabs.
It's like now this culture is like now something that everybody is doing, and it feels like it's this peak. But I've mentioned it to other people, and also some of our own comments on this pod. is that people don't feel that way because they feel like as an actual enthusiast, it feels like it's at a low. Like the laws are making it harder to own cars. Like there's that while the superficial side of the space feels maybe highly saturated. Rappers are putting, cool cars like E30 M3s in their videos, right? But you have this other side of it where like everything else feels harder, maybe more expensive, like unrelatable, like we're losing racetracks. So like in one way, the culture feels like to the outside, like this is the biggest it's ever been. But then at the same time, we're losing like all this access to get to go do the hobby. Right?
Yeah. I see.
So, but I ask you because you've been around and you've watched a couple of
all
these
the hills
other
and
peaks,
valleys,
right?
yeah.
For me, I think the first real peak I got to experience, I saw Fast and Furious, but I wasn't really in the business yet. But from the industry side, like right now, there's a ton of money coming into automotive that is like non-endemic.
100%.
And then that money leaves.
Yep. It comes in waves.
Yeah, and then it's out. But like, do you feel the peak right now, or is it?
Well, I judge it by, like I live and die by the automotive aftermarket and the motorsports side of it and the show side to an extent. And, that aftermarket culture. That aftermarket culture thrives on, essentially OEM offerings. So when I came up in the first wave of that 98 and everything, that's when the Honda Civics were being produced at that time.
Yeah.
The old guys
this is a point other people have brought up.
The old guys liked the old Camaros and the old 70s muscle cars that were no longer in production.
Right.
They were dying off. The cars were getting harder to find. The prices were going up. Now we're seeing that happen with our cars. When Huff does the collab with TRD, they don't put a GR Corolla on it because the GR Corolla, as much as I love that car and want to get one, it's not as sexy as Ivan Stewart's old school, class 7 truck, And so that's the car they put on it. And people are like, I like cars, but they don't even realize that the car that they like is an 80s era off-road, Baja 1000 Crusher that has no real identity in today's world. So if you look at the cars that we're producing today, it's not good. But then you also, hold on.
That's a really good point.
So there's not a lot. So a few years from now, you have to wait for those cars to go into the aftermarket. The past 10, 15 years have not been good. But people argued that when the R35 came out. Remember when the R35 came out, 2010, everybody's like, welp, there goes tuning. And now you have people, 2,500 horsepower, VR38s. And, it's like, it's impossible to tune because the transmission has its own ECU. And now they're just tuning the F out of them, So I look at that as the same way as like the cars.
That being said, I still
today.
find the R35 GTR to be a very uninspiring car.
Oh, 100%. My hot take too is the Mark IV Supra is a very uninspiring car. Wrapped around.
Shake my hand.
Wrapped around an amazing engine.
The Mark IV Supra is Japan's answer to the Mustang that no one asked for.
100%. And a movie made it take off and made everybody.
But it doesn't really handle that great.
No, it's a terrible pig of a car.
Yeah.
The 3600.
It's good for what people use it for, which is like Texas 2K.
100%. It's a
really fast in a straight line.
It's that engine that goes and goes
Smokey
and goes.
did it right.
Exactly. But I will argue that the NSX and the FD RX-7 aged much more gracefully than the Supra.
Yeah.
You look at those two cars and you just
FCRX-7 is beautiful.
Just beautiful designs. Where the Supra's like, okay, I thought it was cool. I remember when it came out. I was there.
I think the GTRs have aged well. I mean, I think 32.
When you talk about 32,
34s.
33, 34, to me, yes. 35, the Mecca, not really, not really feeling it.
The early ones are great too.
But that's us. We're getting stuck in an era.
So you just said something though that I actually I never thought about this concern before. I do not like new cars. Right.
To me, EK is greater than FL5 and FK8.
Yeah, there's something, and I don't know if that's because I'm old, right?
Are we listening to the same music that we listened to in high school?
No, I actually
we're doing
listen
right
to
now?
new music.
I do too.
Yeah, I listen to new music. I still listen to old music, but I do enjoy new music. What about old music? Do you guys know? Anyway, good Instagram page if you don't follow it.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
is that
amazing.
the white boy with the glasses?
Yeah, the British dude.
Just listen to this.
Yeah.
Just listen to this.
Are you stupid?
Are you mental right now?
Yeah,
just wait.
Yeah, so good. Show him. He's great. Old Music Fridays. But something you just said actually frightened me in a way I never really thought about before. like right now, I think the thing that is propping up car culture are cars that are 10 to 20 to 30 years old. Like that's what the culture is built on. You're right. When we were into Hondas and Volkswagens, we were modifying cars that were still in the dealership. It was a 6th-gen
Honda and a Mark IV
right.
Volkswagen.
Like you're literally either one generation out of the dealership or you're currently in the dealership.
964 Porsches, E46 M3s. It's like that's.
And I wish I could say it's just our
in
generation, but younger kids are also pining for the same era cars, which then asks the question of, in 30 years from now, what is the group of cars you're building? BRZ, Toyota Supra, the new Supra, the Mark V.
It's tough for those cars to age because, like a muscle car, that can kind of withstand the test of time.
Yeah.
Whereas, like a plastic car of our era, I always fear. Like, what is our patina going to look like years from now?
I'll tell you, it looks like cracked dashes.
Yeah.
Cracked dashes.
That's our future.
You know what? My least favorite thing about the cars from our generation is soft touch.
Oh, yeah.
And all the soft touch just becomes this like goo that's just like you can't get off your fingers. It's all peeling.
The way the Alcantara just sort of wears away to a smoothness, it's like,
But like, are we in a weird place where maybe this dies out because there isn't a huge handful of cars right now that become affordable for kids in 15 years to tune, and all the 90s cars and the 2000 cars that we grew up on become unattainable because we make them all expensive, because as we get older we have more disposable income. At least I'm hoping that happened. It happened to the boomers. I'm waiting for that moment.
I have a horribly apocalyptic hot take on all of this.
Oh yeah, let's get dark.
Okay,
let's get dark.
Okay, here we go. This is my old man rant. I got into this I was on the Inevitable with Ed Lowe and John.
They've asked me to do that podcast, and I'm like, I do not like electric cars anymore.
I told them that
like,
too.
I was an early adopter who has turned against them. So it's not like I'm the never. Like
no. I'm the never. I'm like. I've ridden in a Tesla at Hoonigan. I've maybe been in a Tesla Uber, but I'm not your guy. But I was hosting the show at the time, and they wanted to boost the show, and they wanted to get the boost from the show. And I'm like, they brought me on, and I talked about.
By the way, it's a great name.
Oh, the Inevitable, 100%.
Inevitable is a fantastic
As someone
name
who's
for
like
an EV
a
show.
man,
Oh, I
for you to give
love
credit
it.
to that name, that's high praise. That's high praise coming from you.
It's really good.
Yeah, they did a great job with that. Ed does very well with that sort of stuff. Ed and Johnny, the two of them together, and they make great co-hosts. It was a fun experience. But we started talking about L1 to L5, autonomy, and right now we're about like L1, L2, which is like
just for everyone.
L5 is like full autonomous, right? L1 is like,
lane assist
is like lane assist and everything. So we're getting into like the L2 era and starting to push into L3. And then we have the Waymos out there that are not quite L5. They're more like L4 because there's someone monitoring that. But this is the world that we're in right now is the same world of the Industrial Revolution when the automobile came around. The move from horse to buggy to car is happening again for us. And it's the only problem is the loose nut behind the wheel. Because if you want to have full autonomous, all the crashes right now that have happened from most of the autonomous vehicles, back in the day, this stat was more true, but as they're driving more, they're finding more issues. But most of the problems are problems with human error. Humans are driving and they run a light and the autonomous vehicle runs into it. But for the most part, there's the one of the Waymo that gets confused when the guy's like down on the ground and the police around him in LAPD. There's a few of those, right? But for the most part, the problem is the loose nut behind the wheel. It's the human intervention.
Yeah.
If you want to have, eventually, when you get into full autonomous, L5 is what you're getting to. That's not just interconnected vehicles that are talking to each other, but interconnected roads that are talking to every vehicle. So that way you're going to have vehicles in the fast lane doing 200 miles an hour. And all those vehicles are doing 200 miles an hour, bumper to bumper, not connected, bumper to bumper. And then when one vehicle wants to merge, the other vehicles know. And
right, because they can speak to each other.
They can speak to each
other.
Get on
network. Yeah.
No human could keep up with that. It's the same thing with the paddle gear shift. If you're talking about dual clutch, it shifts faster than any human could shift. I happen to prefer rolling my own gears. I just like it. Even though it's slower, I get it, but I just feel more connected to the driving experience. I don't need to be that fast. I don't need to shift fast like Lewis Hamilton. I don't need to do that. So for me, I don't see that happening. The other thing I don't see is that people aren't going to be able to coexist with those cars. So eventually, humans are going to be taken out of the equation. So before, the horse used to be a beast of burden, right? And that's it. Everyone had a horse, Then the horse became the playground of the wealthy. The car is going to be the playground of the wealthy. Thermal club, where there's a driving thing.
I've heard this line before.
Your daughter's not going to want a pony. She's going to want a Miata, and the Miata's going to be there. And Daddy, what do we put in it? We put gasoline into this vehicle, and it's only available here, and it's very expensive. And then you could drive your car around. She goes, "Oh my God, I have to drive it myself. That's so quaint." And then you learn how to drive. And the vehicles are going to be the playground for the rich. And if you want a car, you don't get to drive one. But if you want to go pick up something at Home Depot, you could summon, a vehicle that can carry what you need.
Or it just gets delivered.
Exactly.
And you never need to leave
and
your
you never
house.
need, and then we're in
at that point, you just plug into the back of your neck and you're in the Matrix.
Or you're in the, my kids are of the Pixar age, the Wall-E. You're in the Wall-E world where we just end up going to buy right and spending everything there. And, that's super dark. And
but I've
Johnny
heard other people say
Lieberman,
it.
who knows so much about this, contested me to the end. He's like, absolutely not. There's no way. You could still ride a horse on the street. You'll still be able to, people will still be able to drive.
But the problem with it though, and you said this, and I've heard this line before, and the line goes, at one point everyone rode horses and only the wealthy had cars. And now only the wealthy can afford a horse. And it's like, that's just a reality that comes because when something is no longer the norm, it fits outside of standard practices and then it makes it more expensive
100%.
Because if there aren't gas stations anymore, if there aren't roads you can legally drive your horse on or your car, well, then you have to go to Thermal Club. I don't know, man. I don't know I don't know if this is because of my age or because technology just moved too quickly, but in the past year or two, I have taken a massive step back from wanting more tech in my life. Because I was a huge supporter of new tech. I like tech, right? I mean, there's some tech that thinks it's really good. The cameras that are recording us right now are these Logitech cameras that are all connected together and they all work off the iPad and it's they all just stream together. And it's so simple. And if the way we used to do it at Hoonigan was 4 different cameras and each of them
sync
individually.
The time codes.
It's that's great. That's an advantage. But there's other things I'm just I drive new cars today and I want to turn everything off. I don't need it. There's a few new technologies. I actually wanted to do this as a firing order, but I think it just ends up being old men yelling at clouds. But was what new tech is absolutely useless versus what new tech is actually great. There's certain things I like. So I'll talk the good tech. I'll go positive first. I like my high beams getting turned off when another car is coming at me on a 2-lane road. I find it to actually be really convenient. It makes it nice. I get to keep my hands on the wheel, especially if I'm riding spirited road. I don't have to reach for the stalk, right? Boom, it's on and off, on and off.
Backup cameras.
I think backup cameras are good. I don't really use them because I don't own any cars with them.
Same. I've never owned a car.
In concept, they're great.
When I drive cars with backup,
kid, right?
I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm right there.
I forget to use them when I get a press car. I'll still be
You're over the shoulder.
One over the shoulder or looking in the side mirrors I'm driving a fucking a box truck. But
other technology.
And I like hill assist. I like hill assist. I think hill assist is the weird cheat. I don't like auto blip. I don't like anything that adjusts the performance, but I don't care how good of a manual transmission driver you are. If you're sitting at La Cienega and Sunset,
oh my God, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to.
It sucks.
To this day,
I get sweaty when I realize
also,
I've
all
done
my
that.
cars, it's not that good. It's not that good. I'm I don't have much hill holding power with this one. And I'm at that one, I always try to time it. I'm always okay.
And the guy in front of you starts and stops and you're you're burning your clutch. I don't need that in my life. I no longer need to prove myself there. But there's so much other stuff like the lane assist, just weird things that the car does that without me asking it to do. All of that stuff, I just have no interest in.
The blind spot indicator is that's a little extra to me.
Yeah, there's just
the other
so
thing
much.
is if you look back at tech that didn't work. Do you remember the S chassis and the I want to say it was the 3rd gen Integra that had the automatic seatbelt?
Oh yeah, we had that in the Volkswagen Corrado.
Yeah. God, it's just the worst, And
I get those were trying to keep you safer. And I guess all of these are. I mean, I guess in the end, the idea of the lane guide and stuff and all of that is so that you don't swerve off the road while you're on your cell phone. But if we remove the cell phone, maybe that too.
When we're talking about tech, I was thinking about that. I actually rode in one of the Signal Auto drift cars in Osaka, like literal Bayside drifting that you see on the streets with that. And they were doing, I don't know, 80-mile-an-hour entries back then. And one of the drivers, I jumped in the car and I got in and they went, okay. And he goes, Strongo. You, Strongo. And I said, what? It's late at night. I've been drinking a little bit. And I'm like, what's happening? He goes,
You're like, I got to give this guy a hand job too?
He goes, hando on the A-pillar. And then they close the door and then the little seatbelt retractor goes and there's no seatbelt, no harness, no anything.
Oh, goodness.
And so I'm like, you want me to brace myself on the A-pillar and I'm like, you know what? No one else would get in the car. Everyone else is like, nope. And I'm like, I'll get in the car. No, there was no cell phone camera or anything. I'm just like, I'm doing it for the story.
For the vibes,
so I'm like, okay, let's get in the car. And I went and full like 80-mile-an-hour entry. Of course, it was a right-hand entry. So I'm right there like, hi, container, like Strongo, holding on and everything. And another one I'll give you is...
I won't do that anymore. I'm too old now to get into other people's cars.
I still jump in like the biggest idiot ever, But another one I'll give you about technology that just made me think of it with the seatbelt thing was I used to park cars at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And my dad actually invented valet parking, but that's another story for another pod.
Yeah. Your dad invented valet
parking?
parking?
Dad invented valet parking, which is another story. I've crashed the Playboy Mansion as a parking attendant. I worked at the Beverly Hills Hotel as a parking attendant. And I've had some pretty cool jobs and drove some pretty cool
So
cars.
before your dad, there was no such thing as valet?
There was no such thing as valet parking. Herb Citron and John the Dairy started a company called Valet Parking with a V. It was meant to look like a tuxedo of like a manservant, a valet, or a butler that would actually bring your car. Why would I want you to bring my car? The parking lot is right there. It's right there. No, this is a service. You're spending a lot to go to this restaurant. We give you a good complimentary service and everything. And they first started it at Laurie's Prime Rib in Beverly Hills, California in like the mid-'60s.
That is a fun fact I did not know.
Anyways, I've worked at a lot of these valet jobs, and I was working at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And when someone tips you, back in the day, the parking was $2 to park at the Beverly Hills Hotel. People would give you a $5 and let you keep $3. You get a tip and everything, and everybody's happy. Jean-Claude Van Damme comes out, and he was peak Van Damme at the time. This is like, God, I want to say late 90s,
right.
Like
Bloodsport
yeah, there was a whole thing. And no, I mean early 90s, early to mid 90s. And he comes out, he had a BMW 7 Series, brand new. And he said, how much? And I said, $2, and he said, oh, okay. And he gives me a $5. And I said, you kind of wait, and then he's like, change? And I'm like, you Jean-Claude Van Damme? And so I take like 3 sweaty wadded ones and I hand it to him. I don't give him his change in any like sort of measurable way. And when someone tips you, you hold the hand on the door and you hold the other hand on the handle and you close it and you say, thank you very much. Have an enjoyable trip. Thank you for your patron. Right. If they don't tip you, you give them the flick, So I flick the door and I look over my shoulders. I'm flicking the door. And he has a pen and he goes to write something down as he's talking to the other people in the car. And he drops the pen and it lands on the door sill. And he reaches his hand out to get to grab the pen. And the pen rolls out of the door sill onto the ground. The door is in motion now. And I'm like, no. And I'm rushing to get to it, but I can't get back to it fast enough. And the door hits but doesn't close all the way, which is the perfect close if you're trying to snub them. Not the perfect close when you close Jean-Claude Van Damme's hand in the thing, but it was the soft touch door. So not only does it not close all the way, but it like hits
and then it
pulls onto his fingers and he goes, open, open. He's like screaming at me with his accent. And I'm like, oh my God, Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to kick my butt right now, So I open the door and I just look at him and I panic and I take off running. And it was a big party and there was people everywhere. And I don't know what happened, but all I imagined was, because I'm dating myself here, I see him on the Arsenio Hall show later that night. This didn't happen, but I'm imagining him in this full. I can't do the new movie because some idiot closed my hand in the door, but never.
Honestly, it's his fault. $3 could have saved him that.
Come on, man. Come on.
That might have been the end of it for him.
Come on, JCVD, be better. Oh.
Yeah, I always love when you have like weird interactions with celebrities. Once backed into Alec Baldwin's Cadillac. I want to say it was like DTS. Remember the DTS?
Oh my God, yes.
The DTS, by the way, let's talk about this.
Didn't Tony Soprano drive a DTS? And
Probably.
I feel like that was very Soprano-esque.
As Cadillac was making their move from being like, we're no longer a big boat company,
but we're not quite art and style.
No, we're gonna make a sporty CTS. They're like, someone was like, we still need to make a car for the old people, and someone's like, the DTS.
It was like their Malaise era without being in the Malaise era.
100%. It was like they looked at the Lincoln Town Car and was like, I don't think we can improve it, but we could certainly make another one. And they introduced the DTS, which was like a modern version of just an old Cadillac. And he had one. And we were working when we were movers, we worked in the city, and he backed into him. And he's always annoyed I talk about him on the pod, but I love him so much. But he backs into him, and Tim, who's in one of my best friends who was in the car, who's in the truck with us, was like, "Oh shit, yo, you hit that car. You should leave."
Like drive away?
Yeah. Like, oh, bro, you just hit that car. You should go.
You drive the moving.
Yeah. Because like, yo, he hit him with a moving van. It's like it wasn't a small dent. It was like caved in the quarter panel, and we're like trying to like figure out what to do. And we're like shitty fucking 20-year-old kids, and. Then all of a sudden Tim's like, oh shit, looks like the fucking doorman caught us. And the doorman comes running out. Doorman was not the doorman. The doorman was Alec Baldwin. So we get out the car, and he was super fucking cool.
Oh.
He was super cool. And this was like 3 weeks after he beat the shit out of a photographer.
Oh,
and once we were like, yo, is that Alec Baldwin? And this was when like was an aspiring photographer. And he's like, is that Alec Baldwin? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, bro, he already doesn't like photographers. He's gonna kick your ass. And then we literally let him get out of the truck. We both lit up Newports and just sat there, smoked a cigarette, and watched in the side mirror. Just like, well, cigarette break, here we go. And he ended up being super cool, and he ended up not even going through insurance. Like he was like, yeah, whatever, it's fucking cool. But you run into people like that, and you're like, oh, this could be an interesting position. So what do we learn here? Jean-Claude Van Damme, asshole. Alec Baldwin, not an asshole. Yeah. Where were we going before? We were talking about peak. We got off of that.
Autonomous.
Yeah, we kind of moved on to autonomous, which I hate having that conversation.
I don't like to have that conversation, but I told you I wanted to give you a dark apocalyptic, which apparently might not be such a hot take anymore because people are seeing that writing on the wall. Johnny Lieber and I got in a huge debate over it, where Johnny
just likes to fight, though.
He does.
I feel like
I'd love to see Johnny on the pod.
I think Johnny would be really good on firing order because
Yeah.
I think that like he would do his research, he would come prepared, but it needs to be a topic that like really suits him. The problem is
extremely knowledgeable, but also just as opinionated.
Yeah.
I love that about him.
Yeah, no, he would be good for that. But I just like I don't know.
You need to teach him how to do YouTube though. Is driving with Johnny. It's like Johnny, work on the driving with Johnny.
The big issue for me though is I really draw a weird line when people are like hyper defending electric cars as like being a great driving experience. And it's like because I'm not one of those people. Like I'm really concerned about what the fuck we're doing to our like universe. Like,
same.
Bad climate.
I grapple with like you know.
Yeah.
I'm test piped, dirty smog my car and all that, right? But at the same time, I'm like, kind of what am I doing for my kids and everything? It's like
that being said,
if all of us collectively acted like the way we do, are we setting ourselves up?
But the problem is if you actually look at the percentage of people
automotive emissions
in performance
versus,
cars versus what's actually the problem, like. We need to look at like long haul trucking. We need
coal-fired power
we
plant.
We need to 100% look at shipping and container 100%, ships. Like that's where the problem is. We need to, I don't know, think twice before like, igniting oil fields on fire. Like these are things that like are really, really bad for the environment, right? I'm not going to get into the argument of whether or not electric cars are potentially worse for the environment because I don't have all...
Because they get charged by the electricity from a coal-fired power plant.
And I
the
will
battery
say,
waste
I haven't done the
else.
research, so I don't have like enough education to
We also haven't been
that.
doing it long enough to realize the repercussions and ramifications of everything that we're doing. So the case study, we can't do A/B testing on anything yet because we really don't know.
Totally. But I will say this. they are not a better driving experience.
No, 100%.
And anyone who says they are, I instantly lose. Like, that's it. You've lost credibility.
Lost all your credibility. 100%.
Like, that's 100%. Just credibility's out.
100%. And when you say good driving experience, they'll say, well, it's faster than your car. That does not qualify it as a good driving experience. Yeah. That just means that the instant on torque of an EV motor is applied in that fashion. That's it.
I also just don't find raw power and speed to be what motivates me for a car.
Slow car fun. To me, I'm like,
and I know everyone says that now, but it's like, it just works.
But to me, I'm like, it's so much better than like, I don't know, I somehow get involved with these like hypercar owners with some of the work I do with mothers and everything. I heard people debating over the driving experience of a Pagani Zonda versus a Koenigsegg Regera. And I was like, does it matter? Are either of you, and I don't know what kind of driver there is.
Have you driven a lot of like hypercars in your life?
No, I haven't had the opportunity. I would love to. I a couple McLarens and Ferrari every now and then, but nothing that spectacular out there. Probably the craziest car I ever drove was like on the Power Tour. It would be Charlie Lillard, who's a famous collector, had one of Mark Stilo's famous Pro Touring Camaros, which is like a super
different space.
But that was like that's a $250,000 car, And I'm like, okay, and that was like manual transmission and everything, right. Rock crusher and everything, and it was
I think like I've driven a couple hypercars, I've driven a bunch of supercars, and I think that the same experience I always have in them is when I get out of them, I always feel like I drove the car at like 4/10.
And it also kind of numbs you from the driving experience. I drove an R35 in 2012, right when they were pretty new, and I followed behind a 3RS and on like a little autocross style, like road course type, coned road-esque autocross course, and I effortlessly kept up with it. And I'm not that good of a driver. But I just felt a little detached from the driving experience, And I also felt like I didn't nearly explore the levels of what the car was capable of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, in order to get there, you got to get on another level.
I had an amazing experience in that car, not because of the car, but I went to a press launch when it launched in the US. They launched it at Reno Faley Racetrack, which was like an old
I know that
motorcycle track up in Tahoe area. Yep. And went to the press launch. They'd already done the Tokyo launch, right? I forget where it was, but they already done a launch in Japan. And then this was like the first US launch. And this was all like, I forget what the hell that was called, but like, the media, like instant media. So it was all like people who had to like report their stories early.
Oh, okay, like a deadline.
Yeah, it was like deadline media. So it was, it was more of the blogs and that kind of stuff that were showing up for it, at least for the wave I was on. But I was there for 0 to 60. So like I didn't have like a rush to deliver something.
Yeah.
Everybody went and did one lap and then went and wrote their story. I'm like, okay. And then the rest of them didn't even go back out. So I went, I did like my 5 laps. Like they gave you tickets, right, for like how many laps you could do. I did my 5 laps. And then I think it was it Scott or Steve Oldman? I forget which one.
Scott Oldman.
Scott. Well, one of them worked at the magazine. One of them worked in the magazine world. One of them worked at Nissan. I forget. One of the Oldmans.
Okay.
They were brothers. I think it was Steve Oldman. Maybe Scott Oldman. I don't remember. Anyway, he came over to me and was like, hey, man, like, here's a bunch of tickets. Like, can you go and like drive the car more? Because like everybody else doesn't want to go drive anymore. And Steve Millen was there. And I did lead follow with Steve Millen for so long that we blew the brakes out on 3 of the cars, and we would just bring the cars in and then hot swap to another car and go back out, like literally killing tires on cars, just following Steve Millen through this track. And it was one of the most like rad experiences because we would do laps and then Steve would like pull in next to me and as we came into cool down and he'd be like, here's what you're doing wrong in that corner. And it was just such a rad experience, but it was also this amazing moment at like looking at what journalism was at the time, which is like all of you just got invited to drive one of the most important cars of the decade, the car that everyone's putting up against the 911, and you drove it for 1 lap and then wrote a story about the 1 lap. Like you literally did an out lap. And that was it. I spent the entire day driving that car, and I can genuinely say it's not that great. Like it does its job, but like it's not a 911.
It blows my mind how people don't want to drive cars anymore. Like when we talk about journalists, I have another story that's like exactly like that. I went, I want to say it was Acura RSX press launch, and then.
By the way, not to cut you off, but the RSX was a car that got mentioned.
I saw it.
I've never driven one.
I think I owned one, and I think
I've never driven one. Is it a car I need to go drive?
No, it's not. It's
okay.
Nikki even mentioned it in a pod that said it's the next collector car that's going to come from Japan, the Type R, because the DC5 Type R, and I'm like, McPherson strut front end. It definitely it needs a lot of help. It needs a lot of aftermarket help. But anyways, that the new car came out in 04. I think the mid-cycle refresh came out in 04. And we went to Streets of Willow to drive. And I know Streets pretty well. And we got to drive the car, but then also we got to take a lap in Peter Cunningham's real-time racing DC5 race car. Everybody could take a couple laps, and I was like, what the what? So we got to drove the car. Yeah. Everybody did a couple laps, and then they all went in for lunch. And then I'm like kind of standing there going, I go again, and this kid, his name was Jasper. He since passed, but I had such a great interaction with him. He's like, yeah, no one else. He goes, they paid us to be here all day. We got tires, we got fuel, take it out. And I'm like, okay, how many laps? He goes, I'll flag you when it's time to come in. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, just go have fun. And I drove countless laps. He flagged me to come in. I'm like, oh, that's it. So I brought it in and he goes, we got to change tires and fuel. You could stay in the car if you want to keep going. I'm soaked in sweat. And I'm like, yeah, I'll keep going. I skipped lunch. I drove so many laps in a real-time racing World Challenge DC5 Integra Type Acura, DC RSX Type S, and I'm like, none of the other journos were just like, yeah, well, it was cool, A lot of them couldn't fit in the car. They're a little too overweight. I'm like, dude, I'm like a cat. I'm like, if I fits, I sits. I'm like, I'm gonna like wedge my fat ass into it. And I'm like gonna go. Okay, all the tiny little Brid seats I've squeezed into over the years. I'm like,
I don't fit in any of the Brid seats.
It's like it's like that fat kid who puts the helmet on that's too small. That's me in all the Brid seats. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I do not care.
You have no idea how many times people handed me keys to cars and like, go take it for a spin. I'm like, I physically do not fit in your car. Like, no, you'll fit. And then I try to get in. They're like, oh my God, you do not fit.
You were talking about Elise and Exige. We built one for the show, and Amir built it. It was a K20 swap, turbo K20 monster of an Elise and an Exige, and he did full aero on it and everything. But because he's diminutive, like a jockey or a race car driver, he did a fixed mount seat and he tucked it all the way in. And I'm like, I could do it. I could not do it. I could not. And he was like, you could take it for a rip. I'll let you take it for a rip. He was like so open to letting me drive it. And my knees just went right up into the steering wheel. And I was just like, if I had like a slider on this, Amir, I'd be in it right now. Oh.
By the way, something I noticed about our conversation, because you're like, hey, is it a new show? This is the show that we're doing today.
Okay.
I've realized what it is. We're about 2 hours in. We're about 2 hours in.
I'm sorry, audience.
I figured out what the show is. Have you ever played that game, What I Brought to a Picnic?
No.
And basically, it's like, I think.
Does everybody put their keys in a bowl? Because if so, I think I've played it. Okay. No, is that not the game?
You brought the cucumber. Okay. So it's like the game was like you would say a word. You'd be like, I brought like a loaf of bread. And then you have to use the last letter of the word I said to say the next thing. This whole conversation has been, you start talking about something, and then you say a word, and I'm like, ooh, let's talk about that word.
It's tangential.
It is 100%. like none of this. This is the most stream of consciousness conversation. And because you're like, oh, that actually happened to me, or this other thing.
No one is going to want me on this show ever again.
You just said something. You just said something, and now I fucking forgot it. But I was like,
was it about driving the press cars, or squeezing into the Brid seats, or not fitting into the Lotus?
Maybe
I love the way we're like, this is like a ChatGPT search history. It's like, what was I asking about?
But we're hallucinating right now. 100%. We're full slop hallucination at the moment. No, there was something you had said, and I was like, oh yeah. That's the next conversation piece. And I realized that like that's actually a really good format for a show, which is like, just start telling a story, and then something from your story
has to connect to the next story.
I have to pluck a piece out of that, and then go to the next story.
Oh my God.
And then go to the next story, and then it's like every story is connected, but you can like only put it together if like you're neurodivergent. Like otherwise, it makes zero sense. You're like, I don't know how these guys started here. Like first they were talking about his Civic, and then they were talking about like this, and then like I don't know. Then like then it was like just sexual innuendos for like 3 minutes straight. Like what are these guys on about?
It's a good thing you didn't let me drink beer. No, I'll say that much.
Yeah, I don't know. You're a good conversationalist on a beer or two. But the thing is I've watched with you, if the beer pacing like is not at the right speed,
you have to like, 100%. It's like throttle modulation.
Yeah.
So, it's like you can't, not too much oversteer, understeer.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those.
I'll give you one about being overserved when you talk about like, me being a good conversationalist. When I was at Super Street, HPI RC cars came out, and I'm terrible with RC cars. I never take the time. When the car is coming at me, I cannot figure out how to steer. It is going the opposite direction. Yeah. I'm like, I almost have to like turn my body this way when I'm driving. That's how bad I am. This is my hand-eye coordination when it comes to RC cars, just terrible. So I get invited to the Celebrity Grand Prix. It was at the opening of, some super auto box in Orange County or something, and HPI is having a Celebrity Grand Prix with real life drifters, racers, media personalities, and I'm one of the drivers. And I pick, of course, Nob Taniguchi's red D1 Grand Prix S15 with the super advan wheels and the whole thing, and it's all got the livery and everything. But they don't give me the car. They say, you're going to drive this car, you're going to bang into things, and this is your practice car. So I have some practice car from HPI. I never take the time to even take it out of the box. I don't even practice. I'm so busy with work, magazine world. You're just like, I got to get, I'm watching it sit on my desk, this unopened box going 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks. I could do it over the weekend. Yeah. The weekend I'm hanging out, drinking, doing whatever and everything. The night comes, I still have not taken the car out of the box. And I'm like, I am so ruined. This is a big thing in front of a whole bunch of people. Right. So I'm nervous, and they go, well, you got to be here at like 7:00. So it's like a Friday night. We all leave work early. All the Super Street guys come with me, and I'm like, this is terrible. I don't know what to do. And they go, you need a drink. You need a drink. You need to like just take a drink, and like that'll help you like calm your nerves at least, because I'm losing it now. Like the anxiety's kicking in. So I'm like, okay, me being me and the Super Street guys being that I get wasted, like completely just gone. I stagger up to the thing when it comes time, and I'm like, I feel pretty good. Now I'm feeling loose, and I'm like, I got this. I get in the car, get to line up for the race, and the race starts. We're all on the podium and everything, the suspended little, and we take off, and I'm like in second place, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like barely hanging on, and I'm like, please, and I'm like death gripping the controller right now, and I'm like, please, 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 and then now I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity, and I pass for first, and I'm in first place, and I'm winning the RC, and I mean, meanwhile, there's like, Alex Pfeiffer may have been there. There's like the Tanner Fausts of the day, or all these drivers and everything. And I'm like, dude, there's something about like, I'm doing this, and one of the marketing people comes over from HPI, and they said, John, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. What are you doing? Don't talk to me now. I'm doing great, And then they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's not your car. I had drove my car into the wall. Meanwhile, the steering's just going, and I'm like, gas, brake, gas. I'm tracking someone else's car around the track.
Thinking it's you.
Thinking it's me.
Thinking you're killing it.
And I just punched it into the first turn, and I'm like literally like watching the wrong car. I'm like, okay, I hand him the controller, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then, so that's the problem. That's when it goes from good conversationalist to, a little out of control.
Right before you hit me with what actually happened, I already knew.
Yeah,
I was like, I know exactly.
This is, man,
exactly.
That sobering reality of like, I am outclassed for this right now.
I just recently went to Cleetus's. I was there filming something with Leah Block.
I saw that. Yeah.
And Cleetus has an RC full-size Crown Vic, and I made it 2/3 of a lap and sent it right.
I saw that too. I didn't know it was an RC car. I didn't know it was.
It was like
okay.
And like
I thought, I'm like, why would you do that? I'm like, were you in the car? I'm like, you just sort of turned up into the wall.
Well, from the perspective when you're watching.
Do you have a POV camera?
No, you're just watching.
You're watching
the
car. Yeah. Oh, that's weird to me too.
But also, it doesn't center. So you're constantly chasing. You're constantly chasing. Like it doesn't auto center the wheels. You have to steer it back into position.
Oh my God.
Which was weird. It's also got a massive delay. Right.
Oh God. So you get into it, and then you wait, and then by the time you're trying to correct, it's like, oh no, now it's still starting.
Yeah. And then on top of all of that, in my head, I thought I was doing like 20 miles an hour, because like you're like watching this car on
From
this big
you're
racetrack.
a quarter mile away from it.
And then when they brought it in and I realized how told it was, I was like, I was doing like 70. like you didn't realize like it really got stacked. Like, because in my head I'm like, why isn't it turning back? And I'm like, oh, because I'm doing 70 miles an hour and I like trying to just steer the other way and I just pushed right into the wall. Like weird. So yeah. And it was funny because I was like that because it started with Cleetus saying, "Are you good at RC cars?" I was like, I'm okay. Which was definitely the wrong answer. It was definitely the wrong answer. It definitely set me up for that. RC cars is what kind of really got me into real cars.
Oh man. Back in the day, the Tamiya cars, they were so like it was like a Rat Fink aesthetic that was like, they were like hyper realistic, but with that little bit of that like anime twist, that cartoonish twist, you know?
I got into RC cars. I'm trying to kill that fly the whole day. I got into RC cars because I was 8 years old. I went to the park and there were these like older older guys. They probably were like teenagers, but they were playing with a Clodbuster.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And a Blackfoot. And I like fell in love. And like my parents didn't have like that much money. And I remember like, long story short, they'd asked my grandfather to buy one for me. My grandfather ended up passing away like between that period and my birth. He actually died the day before my birthday. Oh. And my parents were like, decided to splurge and like spend money. And they bought me a Kyosho Turbo Ultima 2.
Oh my God.
And it was just the coolest thing. And it taught me about how suspension works and like, you know, it had oil fill shocks and you learn like the dampening and like all of that was just so much fun. And I should have realized then that I definitely enjoy like building, unbuilding, and rebuilding cars more than driving them, because I would like build it, bring it out, crash it, and then just like that was it. Like I wouldn't drive it again. Like it would like sit for like a month, and then I'd finally I'd be like, I can't just rebuild it. I need to like put a new this in it, do a new that. Like I would modify the hell out of it, and like I enjoyed driving it, but it was definitely. But RC cars was like my entrance into real cars, because I was not one of those I didn't read car magazines until I had a car. I was one of those people there were kids I went to high school with who were like reading Hot Rod when they were in freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was into BMX bikes. Like I liked my hobby to be immediate. Like I wasn't like something I was like
you were aspiring to. Yeah.
But like for me, I always think like my grandfather was into cars, which is why I loved cars. But it was RC cars that like made me want to like build them, design them, work on them. Like I built my own shock towers when I was into it. Like just ordered a sheet of like carbon fiber from like McMaster car and then like cut it out with a bandsaw and like, you know, it just came in this like flat sheet of whatever. Like I was like that like early on was the thing that got me in. Because it was funny because when you said before you're like these are like you were like Bigfoot and what was the other one that was you said Bigfoot got you into cars, and what was the other thing?
The Tyrrell P6.
Yeah. And it's like for me, I don't know if like I have that, like I had like specific moments. Like I would say the Lamborghini Countach just as a car was super cool, but Miami Vice is probably what made me like cars. Like I thought Miami Vice was
the white cool. Testarossa.
And by the way, they just announced that they're going to be doing a new.
There's Miami, a reboot.
The reboot of the film, and the director who did F1.
Okay.
He's doing it. And I was like, man, that'd be a cool film to work.
Yeah.
That would be super cool. Like that, I wanted nothing more than to be Don Johnson when I grew up, when I was a kid. Like I thought he was the coolest thing ever. You were a little bit older.
I would wear the Don Johnson clothes to the high school parties. You know, everybody would, and the girls would wear the Madonna glove, and the guys would wear the teal shirt and the white. I'm terrible with like white linen because I'm always like, I had a lowered mini truck and it was always like something was wrong with it. I'm like trying to get in and out of it I had white Corbeau seats on it, which I thought were like just
pretty pimp,
right? Until like just every little bit of dirt and everything. I was just like, could not keep them clean. You know?
I don't know how people keep white seats clean. I drove a Audi RS4 with white interior home and I had like, you know, like selvage denim that was blue. And by the time I drove it from LA back to New York. And by the time I got back to New York, the seats were just dyed blue.
Yeah. Same. Like for me, like people said, oh, why didn't you get the Civic Type R seats? Because the Civic Type R seats are the Recaros, the SR3s, but they're red. They're bright, like Honda red. And I'm like, dude, I just gonna wreck those seats. So the Integra Type R from the same generation had black seats with red stitching, and I'm like, that's give me the black seats, please.
All right, so Nads, the $1 million question. What's next? What are you doing? What's going on?
You know what I'm doing? I'm embracing my old school roots, and I'm writing a book about golden era wheels. It's my love letter to old school wheels, and
nice.
All the way back to the '60s, and like all the way through. You mentioned the OZ Futuras on like you were talking about something with James Pumphrey.
And I was like, that's one of those top.
Those
are
one of those. Everybody has those wheels.
I'd say all wheels. Like not Japanese.
It's Japanese. It's the Japanese market, and it starts in the '60s and goes all the way to about the 2010s when the wheels literally fall off the bus.
Who's the first official wheel maker in Japan? Is it Watanabe?
When we talk about it goes back to Watanabe, and you're 100% right. We talked about that in another conversation. That's a mini light ripoff.
Yeah.
It's like they were the first.
Yeah.
And then Panasport copied the Watts that were a copy of that, and then Koenig rewinds, and everyone's done that.
And then you've got Westerns,
the Westerns and everything.
A bunch of different brands.
But what I feel like that no one really ever talks about is we are unique in our space. If you talk about a lowrider, it's Dayton 100-spoke triple crosses. If you talk about a hot rod, it's Halbrand sprints. If you talk about a muscle car Camaro, it's torque thrusts. Every like Porsche has their Fuchs alloys, right? Every space has the perfect wheel. Even if you are an outlier, even if like Vin wants to put TEs on a Ferrari, which you could TE the world, which I get that, but the TE37 is not the first wheel that you think of when you want to put it on a Ferrari, but. Vin's a little different because he's got a few different sets of wheels for that because he comes from our space. We're the only ones that don't treat wheels with that main character energy. We treat it like an ensemble cast, like Hoonigan. We treat it like there are multiple options to play with, and we treat them like we're the sneakerheads of the car culture. No one else does that. The lowrider space, they don't go, I got these wheels, but I also got these wheels.
Or swap them out. I mean, right now you're running.
I have two different sets of wheels
because wheels on your car.
And
I have 12 sets of wheels for my Rabbit. I've only ran one on them now, but like they're for a rainy day, I might want to run something else. I've got RSs because you have to have an RS.
It's the driveway picture of the one car with all the wheels and tires laid out, and no other space does that. The muscle cars, maybe they'll do like forged lines instead of the OG torque thrust, which I think
Euro kids are the same though.
Euro kids are the same, but I'm saying like the sport compact world is just a little bit different, and even like. Vin's more of a Euro kid. He's a JDM guy too, but he's got multiple sets of wheels for all his cars. You've got multiple sets of wheels. Most of the people I know, multiple sets of wheels. There's never that one perfect wheel. And I know people who get a set of wheels for their car and go, I got these, but I also want those, or I can't decide, so I'm just going to get them both.
I think wheels are so important that I've bought wheels that have then made me buy cars to match.
You buy a set, like you come up on a deal. And you're like, oh my God, these are 5x114s, and they're in this PCD, and they're in this 15.8 and a plus 38. I got to get an EK. I got to get an EK for these wheels. I can't not get the EK because
Oh yeah, I will 100% justify like, ooh, this is a really good wheel at a good price,
and this will go perfect with that.
Yeah, so now I have to buy and build an entire car just to support these wheels.
But yet it won't stop at that one set of wheels. Just like sneakerhead culture. It's this. We are the only group in this segment that treats wheels like this.
That's going to be a really good book. You thinking like coffee table type?
I'm thinking coffee table type, and then I'm going to do like a little bit of like. There's a little bit of like. There's going to be also what I want to call the outer rim. Getting my naming conventions from you. Is like what was why were Moon Eyes so big? Why were Halbrand sprints so big? Why were torque thrusts so big? What is the deal with like Dayton wheels on lowriders?
Can I write the whole section that a KF is just Japan's interpretation of a torque thrust?
Dude, my God. It's
one of my least favorite wheels, but like the scene loves it. The scene loves the
for those because when the Japanese, there was a subsect of Japanese drifters that wanted big fat steelies and just to show it off. It's like drifting meets VIP sort of thing.
Yeah, and I also think drifting. I think also drifting meets hip hop culture. Like that wheel feels so pulled out of like the back of Rides magazine.
It does, but it's also right at home at Final Bout.
Yeah, no, it works.
So
it works.
So it's like, okay, so when I saw him on Hertz's car, I was like, okay, now the US is getting a hold of these,
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's weird for me because I like performance-based wheels. Like, I think my first wheel choice is always a wheel that feels like it belongs on a race car. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I
I get
like.
that. I get
like
that.
I like it. I like TEs, but then I also like a Futura, which doesn't feel like it belongs in a race car.
No, there's that weird like 3-piece wheel German element, which
Yeah.
BBS RS is like
Yeah.
the iconic wheel.
But the
right?
RSs were once race wheels.
They were. That's
now
what's so
they
cool.
feel weird as race wheels.
Yeah,
but
and
like,
now people don't step lift your RSs, please. God, those are just
Wait, what?
Step lipped RSs.
you don't like that.
Oh God, it's so bad.
I think it's okay to a
it
certain
looks,
size.
It looks.
I think it's okay to a
oh,
certain
God,
size.
it looks so bad to me. You know. No.
I mean, in my opinion, I think the best size RS is a 15. It works well as a 15 or a 16. But
John Ruskoff started the Little
yes,
Wheels.
Little Wheels Club. I got the sticker on my rabbit.
I'm like, I am 100% card carrying member. He's like top of the list of people that I want to reach out to and talk to.
But it's the same thing that goes like, I'll make the comparison to sneaker culture. When you design a sneaker, you design it around a size 9, right? Like a size 9 is what's called sample size.
Okay.
So like that is the perfect like proportions for a sneaker.
Okay.
I wear a size 14. It doesn't always translate the same way. And I think the same thing happens with wheels. Like wheels start to get too big and it's like certain wheels just don't translate bigger.
Well, it's also
I think
like the wheel
15
diameter to the sidewall ratio too. Right. It's like another thing, you know?
Like to me, I think the 17 is like the perfect size wheel overall. I think like once you start getting into 20s, wheels, unless it's like a monoblock, like they just start to like the proportion of like the size of the lip versus the wheel, it all just seems like
I think it also depends on the car because today's cars are getting so big.
Yeah.
You can't run, 15s on.
But like when you see someone put a set of like BBSs stepped up to a 19, like a set of RSs stepped to 19, looks insane. Like I can't defend that. Like that's like too much when you've got like this like
it's this much of a void of like polished aluminum that's going out to the lip. Like, to me, it feels like that is not true to the original.
So I mentioned this on the firing order, but I do want to do, and I think you brought the book up then. It's like I really want to do a firing order on wheels,
man,
but it's really difficult because it's really too broad. I mean, right now, top five wheels of all time. Can you name them?
God, you're like
TE37s, BBS RSs. That's 2.
100%.
What's the other 3?
I would say the Southern Ways Epsilon Mesh, which is like a.
I get it, but to me, it's
I have my other dream wheels, and I hate that my dream wheels are black because I hate black wheels.
But to me, I agree with you. But there's something special about a spoon wheel and flat black.
A friend of mine, Christian Wong from Battlecraft, he's one who's a huge inspiration to the build and actually helped build the build. So I had a lot of my like iconic friends. Yeah. Ryan Rywire Bossery helped wire the car and did the headlights.
And Rywire does the best.
He does the best. Amir Bent too, and like Christian and this group that got involved with it. But Christian has the wheel, the SW388, the S-dubs are based on the Desmond Rigamaster Evos, right? Yes. So the Rigas, white with the black and red around the outer that has that touring car JTCC, like, oh God, that look is so good. We were talking about on the other pod too, is like the way people tried to go touring car wheels to represent, but they didn't recognize that you got to recut like the fenders to get that to tuck like that. And that's the way those BTCC cars were made. And that's the way all the Japanese touring cars were made. But I will give.
It's also the reason why the raw welts look so good. Like people don't understand. Like people
cut so deep into they radius into it,
the fender line up.
It raises the fender line. So it's essentially like a modern era body drop, I guess you'd say. But I would also say like there's people out there like Eric Cutiel gets it. If you know who he is, he's a GLTC racer, and he did his Civic, and he's doing an Accord touring car that he just looks so careful, and he works so hard to make the car not only look good, but perform well. I think Mike Burrows from Stance Works is also another one that like really works on like roll center and like how will this car perform, but I want it to look really good.
Look good well,
and then there's also like, if you look at like Mad Mike, I remember like, I know that there's a set of twins, the Turbo Twins, they call them Twins Turbo. They did 900 horsepower supers before.
You're talking about like back in the day, Turbo.
Yeah. They worked with Vinny 10 and everything.
I know Vinny 10. Yeah.
So they came up through Vinny 10, but they helped him with his car. Rod Chong was at Need for Speed and Speed Hunters, and he helped sponsor Mike to first come here for FD. And the twins were new to drifting, and Mike was like, "These are what I want. These big fat 20-inch Johnnies on my FD," and he's drifting, and they're like, these wheels don't work, man. They're not right for this car. And he goes, I don't care. Figure out a way to make them work. He's like, the look has to be. Has to be right. And to me, I'm like, maybe that kind of goes. I like a Mike Burrows a little bit better than a Mad Mike, that's like more like it has to absolutely perform, but also look sick as fuck, No. So yeah, you talk about wheel sizes and everything. If we get into like, the wheels, so, my spoons are also, a set of those.
But I think you also get into like, and this is where it's such a difficult conversation. And I don't know
what's the application. What car are you making?
The application, I
love Super Advan SA3Rs because those were the wheels that were on, Knob Taniguchi's S15. But would those wheels look good on something else? I also like when people take them out of the box.
Vinny
T of the world.
Vinny put T37s on his Mark II Golf, and the Volkswagen community just vomits every time they see it. And it's like, it's not like a concave TE. It just doesn't really work on that car.
No, I get it.
It looks cool in like a motorsport fashion, but there are 100 other wheels I would put on that car first.
100.
But I would still argue that the T37 is one of the top 5 Type 5 wheels in the motorsports arena.
I will too, but also
but at the same time, I think Meisters actually look better. Which is a weird thing to say. Like the TE is just like such a
But
staple.
then what's crazy, I like Workmeisters, but the SSR SP1 Professors, not quite as good because the way the spokes meet the barrel, there's the weird little things that you could get so right and so wrong. I'm not ashamed to admit it, HRE 504s.
Okay.
When HRE purchased the name from Hayashi Racing Enterprises and became, it was the HRE that we knew today. It was the precursor to that. And they had the fake plastic cap and the wheel cover, and they were wannabe BBS RSs. And I thought they were so cool until I saw a set of BBS RSs. And then I was like, yeah, I done fucked up. I'm faking the funk. Which the other thing that I want to get into in the book, and I'm digging into it now, is the world of reps. It's like back in the day, it was like you had to be authentic with everything, be it body kits or wheels or turbos, and nowadays it's something like I can go to Alibaba and get the same wheel, or a company will make a wheel that is inspired by a iconic design. And yet they're blatantly ripping it off. I'm not going to name names, but name.
Yeah, I mean it's funny though because it's at a point.
You got me blacklisted from Hop Sings. That's a super deep cut. If I know you have to be the only one that knows it.
Wow. Okay.
They asked me to name names.
Name the names. We used that cut in the last episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we kept saying like I don't know why, but with John Chase, he just kept saying like, I don't want to name names. Don't name names. Don't name names. Don't name names. So we used the like, she named names. Anyway, well, it's getting hot in here.
It sure is.
We have no air conditioning in the
Take off all your
studio.
clothes.
We have no air conditioning in the studio, and we were on a double header because obviously he was here for firing order as well. So we're getting a little exhausted. You have any last things to add?
No.
Before we wrap this out? It's been good catching up.
It's been great catching up. It's been good to hang. Now
what I brought to a podcast is a nice format for this.
I think that's going to be something that it'll be tough to replicate with other people.
No, it takes a certain brain type. It takes a certain brain type. Yeah.
Just excited to still be like. I appreciate. You told me a lot of people wanted me to come on, so I do really honestly appreciate that.
People miss your brain, Nads. I don't know if they miss your face, but they certainly miss your brain.
I have a face made for a podcast with no video component.
No, I something that you brought to Hoonigan was that encyclopedic knowledge on things that I think people loved our conversations because we would often fight about a lot of stuff. Which is weird because I don't think we got into too much of an argument on firing order, which means I'm going to have you back on something that I feel like I'm more in a position to fight with you about. That's
what I got to be honest. I would never go on the driver's car with you and Ron and Vin because you guys are driven more cars.
Yeah,
I mean, you have more of that
era too. Is like I have a lot of seat time in all those cars.
and you guys had that depth of knowledge that I would be. I'm out of my wheelhouse, so to speak. Today it flipped the script on me a little bit because I'm like, I'm not in a position to see Scotto at his like weakest, when we did that firing order. So I was like, dang, I wanted to like,
when I said Tommy Carr, I looked at both of you and I'm like, well, clearly that was not a good choice.
We were trying to respect it.
You guys are being nice.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it. And Mickey and I were like, yeah, that's a choice. It's adorable when you try, Brian. So next time maybe try coloring inside the lines. But you know what? That was pretty too. We're gonna put that on the refrigerator. So.
Fine. Again, Gran Turismo no shaped me. So, you know. But.
So, no, it's nice to see you still doing the thing. And I'm sure and I'm hopeful that our paths will cross again on a personal/professional level.
Yeah.
At the very least, go for a drive.
I mean, I would like to do more print stuff. It's something, again, I said it multiple times.
It's huge on my list.
I just think, well, this is great, and I enjoy the long form element of podcasts. I really just miss things that don't feel disposable.
100%.
People will watch this, and then they will stop watching it, right? The other day, Ashley asked me to clean out all my books because I have like a huge stack of books. I'm just bringing them to the farm because we need room for Hudson's toys in like in a section. And I pulled out all these books, and it's like I got to like re-experience all these books over the past, you know, however many years, from like Calvin Wan's Drifting Handbook.
Oh my God.
Like,
love
right?
you,
like,
Calvin.
Like Antonio's book on drifting.
Oh, the book on drifting. Yeah.
And then, you know, and then just like collections of like, you know, 9/11 books and Audi books and like, you know, the practical guide to building a race car and like all those kind of things. And it's like, there's just something about sitting there undisturbed, not distracted, flipping through print that I have grown so nostalgic from. And I have been, you know, I'm not really a big person to say like I feel blessed, but I feel blessed to have done, or privileged to have done, all the fucking cool things I've done. But hands down, 0 to 60 was the best. Like Hoonigan probably had a much bigger, not probably, Hoonigan had a much bigger impact.
Yeah.
In the community as a whole than 0 to 60 did. And I built amazing friendships through it. It gave me access to do all this really cool stuff. I had an amazing time with Ken. It was super fun to do all the Gymkhana films. It was super fun to work with all of you guys. But there was something about getting this first stack of magazines when they would show up at the office after like you'd gotten, you know, the first proto, you know, like not the blue lines, but like the first samples. They would send you the 4 before they went to like full print. And you would like just sit there. And I remember they would come in and we would all sit in the office and just everybody would just quietly look through and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I upload something now, I never watch it again. I upload Gymkhana and I don't watch it again. Yeah. Like it's up there and it's just there. It's like where like there was something about that, and that just makes me want to like. I don't think that the previous magazine format is sustainable anymore, but I do think that the book format is sustainable. You know, you look at
I think there's something about 000 and Rodder's Journal and Surfer's Journal and all that. I think that there's something there for that quarterly, that really coffee table magazine-esque that I think is very good. I will tell you this. When you talk about you used to read me when I was at Super Street, I looked at 0 to 60, and to me, the highest compliment I pay to people is when I'm mad at what they did. When I look at it, I'm like, fuck that guy.
For sure.
Why can't Super Street look like that? I challenged my art. I'd slam that book on the table, look at the paper quality, look at the quality of the writing, look at that Hunter S. Thompson-esque zero fucks.
That's a compliment me, that makes me teary-eyed because he was such my inspiration.
So to me too, and
I read Hell's
everything
Angels
we did.
And it made me want to write.
You know, the way that you write with that abandon like that, to me, it's like our ADHD minds.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're writing on acid and you're just taking us on that journey. And to me, I was like, fuck, this is like the type of shit. But we were too far. You know, we were too far gone at Super Street. You know, it's like we were down that path, and we were. You know, it was so. I tried so hard to like bend it back, and I could. That's one of my regrets, and I still want to revisit print, even down to like some punk zine influences and some
that's
like
a big one for
just me. I want to do. I think one of the things that people aren't even doing YouTube right is I want weird random like inserts, and I just want you know it's like because I don't think anyone's doing a YouTube show the way it should be done. Even when I did the TV show, I would do just random. I just said film me eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like you know, and it would just be a cutaway of just like. Just defeated by this project car, you know?
Okay, so 2 things. One, I think we should try to do a magazine together, even if it's just a zine.
Oh my God, I would love that.
If there were 2 people in this business who were set to do this, it's the 2 of us.
Would love that.
We need to bring some quality, you know, photography in, which is pretty easy. We know some people. I definitely think that would be something fun. We teased about it because at Hoonigan we talked about doing a mag, but I think we should try to do that now. I'm in the process. I'm working on I'm working on a potential Ken Block book, which is like based around 43 stories. And then I'm also working on a book actually for BBI right now about the development that they're doing on the Type 99 Evo project.
Yes.
And then I've got a couple other things, and they're all like sort of in the works. But so the first one is I definitely think we should have that conversation. We could continue it off podcast. But the other one is the other part that you said. So I wrote this concept the other night. I'm just going to throw it out there. We'll see what people say. And I actually think I think you would be great to help me with this project, because I want to make a video magazine for YouTube. I know already that it won't work, meaning because of the way the algorithm is built, it like doesn't service the thumbnail, but like I just don't care. Maybe I'll just make one and we'll see how it does. But like basically like an hour-long variety show where it is like, hey, I just drove the BRZ, like here's 3 minutes of it, right? Here's a rambling on this. Hey, I ran into this person, I interviewed them about this. Like, hey, I went to this event and here's some stuff from this event. Someone asked me this random question, here's an old story, right? And like just just like this weird variety show that's like all fucking over the place. Very zine style aesthetic to it. And here's why. What I miss the most about magazines isn't the individual pieces, it's curating the whole. And I feel like we really have lost that on YouTube. Meaning like you got to curate a whole issue. Like you got to say, hey, in this issue,
it's a recipe.
It's a recipe.
You're building a recipe for a meal.
We need a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah. The front of the book needs to do this. We need to do this.
Right now, we even talk about it. What you serve up to your audience. Right. It's basically like a chow line, and you slap it on, and you throw the plate across, and that's what you're serving to the audience right now.
And as much as we joke about how just like absolutely ADHD, like addled and out of control, all my podcasts are. I think that there's an audience that's enjoying it because, like, you don't know what you're getting.
No, it's a little bit of a surprise, journey, and we don't know where we're taking.
We don't know. I don't know. We're 2.5 hours in. I don't know how we're going to land this plane, but like, there's something fun about like curating this journey for someone. And I remember like when I read the first Maxim magazine, it was
same.
Remove the girls and the boobs, because that's not what made that. No, it was nice to have
the humor and the diversions and
all the pieces. And like, I just read a 6-page article about colonoscopies. I would never have done that.
Exactly.
But the way Maxim could present it,
everything from the writing to the layout to the presentation to the curation of everything. And
the different entry points.
Even though you didn't know what you were going to get, you did know that it's going to include a little bit of information, a little bit of personal growth, a little bit of humor, a little bit, and you had those little segments. Just like every time you know, like, God, I'm really going back, like the variety show, and you talk about like a Carol Burnett or something. You know that this skit's going to do this in living color. It's going to do. We just talked about it. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's going to be this one, that one. There's going to be everyone together. The guest star Saturday Night Live.
It may not all be great, but some of it's going to be pretty good.
Exactly. So you kind of know what you're going to get.
But that, like, we have now moved into single topic, everything short form.
Yep.
Right? It's like, I can only, like, when did we as humans get to a point where it's like, all I can consume is one idea at a time?
And also that idea has to be greater than the idea that you saw before.
And then my curation is this random curation created by robots. That's the algorithm of what I see in my feed.
It's telling you what you want rather than you expressing. But it's 19 different creators who don't have a common thread, who don't have an aesthetic that, like, you know, speaks through it all. And that, I miss the tangible piece of magazines, but my God, I miss like feeling like a new issue shows up and I get to dive into it. Like, you know, like it was like, oh, like this, like I want to read everything from the editor's letter all the way to, and like at 0 to 60, we would hide stuff. I would, at the bottom of the masthead, I would add little extra stuff because like I wanted this experience where like, I know what it felt like to get to the end of a magazine and be like, oh shit, I read all of it. Like I remember getting on flights and like reading all of Vanity Fair, because it was a fucking excellently read magazine. And when I was a kid, I thought it was a magazine made for women. I didn't realize it was a magazine made for great reading. Exactly.
You know? And it's like, it was like, this was something that was like, and I so enjoyed that. And at Hoonigan, I think we tried to curate it across channels, but it was harder. It was just so much harder because
we curated a content calendar
that
had a mix of everything, but at least in terms of episode, everything had a singular arc.
It was all single serving.
Single serving. I will also counter your Vanity Fair reference. I'm going to go way back. This is one for your kid.
Back when you read Harper's Bazaar.
This is Richard Scarry. Do you remember Richard Scarry books? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know of them, but I don't know them.
But it's like a view of the city, and it'll show how the sewer works, and it's but you have to it's almost like a Where's Waldo type thing. Every single time you look at it again, you're like, I just discovered something new that I didn't know about that before. You know? And I love that when people put stuff. We used to put stuff, spine quotes on the side. I did one that was all in Wingdings, like Wingdings font, and it said, if you could read this, you need to get a life. And someone actually read it and figured it out. And literally, there's no way you could do this. You had to literally go on your,
and go
into Wingdings and
actually go backwards hit every letter to figure it out.
And someone actually figured it out. I did a backwards issue for April Fool's Day in 2004, like a JDM issue, not even thinking that. But the way you read, you'd read here and then you'd have to jump over there and read there. I did the entire issue backwards. There was barely any email then. Someone sent me a letter, or I think it was an email, and said, I got your new issue, but it's like backwards. So it's hard to describe. I'm like, what do you mean?
They thought it got printed wrong.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean backwards? I'm like, are you sure? Did you check all the issues at the newsstand? I'm like, please go back and buy another one. And he sent me an email a week later and said, I bought another one. It's like that too. I'm like, 2 sales. I just made 2 sales. And it did so well. We had to polybag it because we already had a polybag plan for that issue. And I'm like, that's our April Fool's Day issue. I did a backwards. I mean, that's the links that I could go to, but I would do
one of the most brilliant things I saw was when I was at Mass Appeal magazine, which was culture, culture mag. Vice was our competitor, and this was before Vice became the Vice that became this juggernaut. It was actually at the time we were probably bigger than Vice, and we had beef with them, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Our beef was that they were a bunch of Canadians trying to write about New York, culture, and we were a bunch of New Yorkers who were writing about New York culture, right? And so we used to take jabs at each other, right? And we would take jabs at each other, and it even got to the point where things almost got like we would run into people at parties. It was not cool, right? It was full mag beef. And they fucking killed us because they made an entire issue of Vice designed like Mass Appeal. They basically just ripped our magazine off. There's all of our sections. They basically just made an issue of Mass Appeal and called it Vice, but then just clown. It was so good. It was so good. It was so the amount of effort that they did to go through that, I thought was fucking great. And I just loved it. I was it was so well done. So I don't know if you remember, but at one point DDE did their version of this versus that. Do you remember that? Do you remember what we did?
No.
We took their they made this versus that. We were like, this is our show. You literally came on our show.
And then you're ripping it off.
Nothing but love to Damon and Dave. But they came on our show. And
I remember that.
And made a version, but ours is different because it has supercars. I'm like, you're on our show with your supercar. But he was like, yeah, we made our own show. So we didn't say anything. We just took their episode, downloaded it, and then put all of the this versus that font work on it and re-uploaded it to bonus channel. So it was their episode, but recut with all of this versus that graphics package.
That's pretty good.
Which was our
that's your Vice Massive.
You basically made our show. I was a little inspired by them. So anyway, I think it's time to maybe end this one. But this has actually become a bit of a theme, Nick, where at the end we make grand promises to do big business ventures with people, whether it's making movies, making magazines.
Okay, so you're making a movie and now you're going to make a magazine with me.
Yeah, magazine's pretty, it's not easy, but it's a little bit easier than making a movie. So
yeah.
All right, if you're still listening, if you're still deep in, and you want Nads and I to make a magazine, just let us know below. If there's I don't know how many comments do we need to make.
Is that where they're supposed to comment? I don't know. I don't know the podcasting world. Do you comment below?
It depends on where they're listening.
Do you smash that like button, or do you
it depends on where they're listening. Yeah, the comments.
Comment in the comment section.
Yeah, send us a DM. Okay. I don't know if there's more than 10 comments. Maybe we should make a magazine.
Okay,
Whatever.
There it is. 10 comments.
10
and we're
comments.
making a magazine.
That's where it is. So, Nads, thank you for coming on. I'm definitely going to have you back on firing order. So,
Would love it.
Yeah, let's think of another good topic.
That's not that show. Sorry.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that's a wrap. No, we don't do that.
You could do it. Okay. No one's done it. Bring us a that's a wrap. Finish it up. But step back a little bit so you don't blow people's ears.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
Thank you, everybody.
The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Vyper Industrial makes the best damn shop stools ever. Go buy them. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, I want to take a moment to really thank Vyper. They were the first to hop on and support Very Vehicular. When I hit them up, the immediate response was yes. We want the biggest package you've got. That's why they're the title sponsor. Look, they make a really great product, and I felt that way before this partnership, but they also do a really good job of supporting all of us in the car community. Think about it. They work with Adam LZ, Chris Forsberg, Grant Anderson, Travis Pastrana, Vermont Sports Car, and those are just the ones I can remember right now. So Vyper, thank you again. And as I was saying before, go buy a damn stool at vyperindustrial.com. That's Vyper with a Y. Of all the sunglass companies out there, you might ask, why Heatwave? Aside from them being friends of mine, they just make great shades. Awesome styles, cool collabs, smart tech. They even have extra large sizes for big heads like me. And for those of you wearing this on the job, they make ANSI Z87 spec safety glasses too. But what really attracts me to Heatwave is that they are physically a part of our culture. You will find them everywhere, from King of the Hammers to Formula Drift. You'll see everyone wearing Heatwaves at your local track day event. Damn, you might even turn laps with the co-founder Justin, because they're one of us. So one more reason to choose Heatwave Visual to fix your face. I'm a tool dork. My obsession might even dwarf my addiction to cars. I love collecting unique and specialty tools, which is how I initially fell in love with Wera. First off, they just make aesthetically pleasing tools. They feel good in your hand, they have a great finish, their sizes are universally color-coded, and they are super strong. In 2 decades, I've never broken a tool from Wera. I wish I could say the same about my other tools. But the thing I like the most about Wera is that they create clever solutions for your wrenching woes, because you need over-engineered tools to work on today's over-engineered cars. So if you're ready to step up your tool game, whether it's the Zyklop ratchet or the Joker wrenches, find them at weratools.com.